Hello, and before you get started on this episode of Zapped to the Past, we would just like to say thank you to the following people: Andy Marsh, Cole Hutchinson, David Hearn, Sven Oser, 2000 DC, Gary Heather, Roger McNally, Joshua Dove, Mark Fletcher, Etienne Wettingfield, Nell Bullitt, Alexander Gosling, Tim TJ Walker, Matthias Aberg, Phil Sowerby, Joshua K, Dominic Kendrick, Rune P, Steve Parant, Nick James, Daniel Spreadbury, Peter Price, Richard Davey, and Johan Rubstad Lilja. These awesome people have chosen to back our Patreon at the C64 tier, and we are hugely appreciative of the support they offer. If you want to join them and get a mention in next month's shout-out, access to our Discord server, and any special releases we put out, and other cool stuff, then sign up by the 18th of the month at patreon.com/zapped to the past for little more than the price of a pint of beer. It helps us keep playing the games so you don't have to. And now, on with the show. This week, support for Zapped to the Past podcast is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's performance package, the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. So join over 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with their most prized possessions with this exclusive offer for you. 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code ZAPPED20. That's ZAPPED20, ZAPPED 20 at manscaped.com. If my math is correct, that's about 8 million balls that are already being shaved by Manscaped products. And welcome to episode 72 of Zapped to the Past. My name is Adrian Mills and I'm joined as ever by Graham Raddings. If you haven't listened before, this is a podcast where we discuss games that were released for the Commodore 64. We're using the magazine Zap 64 as a monthly guide for the games to focus on, but we are in no way affiliated with Zap 64 itself. This week, we're going to be starting our look at January 1988 and the first batch of games reviewed in issue 33 of Zap 64, along with what was also going on in the UK singles chart that month. So, Graham, what we got going on this week?
In this blatant Disney character-adorned, IP-infringing Mr. Whippy ice cream van, serving a brain freeze-inducing mix of Fab, Knobbly Bobbly and Zoom lollies, as well as 99 flake multi-scoop ice cream combos, mint choc chip cornettos, and something called a lolly gobble choc bomb of an episode. We clomp around a Freescape-powered solid 3D world looking for gas to release in the slow but somehow impressive Driller, grab our nappies and parachute into the jungle looking to cause trouble with our coconuts in Jack the Nipper 2, desperately try and squeeze an oversized 8-bit dragon through some very tight quarters in the mixed-up Rainbow Dragon, and attempt to rescue our favourite sidekick by wandering around looking at stuff with our magnifying glass in the decidedly Sherlock-inspired Basil the Great Mouse Detective. If that mini milk and choc ice didn't quite cool you down, and you feel like a strawberry mivvy and a couple of screwballs are now the only real choice, we take on the side-scrolling and top-down scrolling shooter come platform game antics of the interesting Octapolis, climbing our armoured lollipop on a quest to smash the forces of Venom in the somewhat lumpen Mask, recoiling horror at the splashy 8-bit bog-blocking turd that has clogged the drains in the rubbish Gunboat, before finally heading to US Marine Boot Camp to tackle the assault course, shooting ranges and fist fights in the arcade conversion of Combat School. A smaller range of games in the 8-bit toilet to be sure. Indeed, some of these are actually quite futuristic. Sadly, there are still skid marks, and those require a strong bleach.
Awesome or not, I don't know. It's fewer games. That's good. My brain has been thanking me this week. I have to say that.
I've got to rewrite the entire speech at the beginning now to accommodate less games, but only one less, or maybe two.
Yeah, only one. It's all right. It don't matter. Just as an aside, by the way, and something I just want to put out to our listeners, this has got nothing to do with Commodore 64 or anything, but it does have something to do with sort of retro stuff. I'm being haunted by a pigeon.
What?
That is outside my house that is singing a Robert Palmer song. She's all good loving. This he's got. She's all good loving. He's got whatever that is. She's all. It's that Robert Palmer song. It just keeps every minute or two. It just keeps. It just keeps doing this. And it's been doing it for like about 3 or 4 days. So I pointed it out to my partner. She was like, yeah, it kind of does sound like it. I went, yeah. And as we went for a walk, and as I was walking away, I could hear in the background was.
Oh, no, I don't. It's the season for it.
So it's very strange. So is anybody else being haunted by, 80s singing animals at the moment? Because I am. And it's not great. I don't know what's going on.
All I have around where I live is what I call the hoo-hoo birds. Because they just go, hoo-hoo.
So you're being haunted by the Rolling Stones birds.
Yeah. Hoo-hoo. But that's all I get. Hoo-hoo. And I'm like, I'm going to throw the biggest rock at your nest, smash the eggs of the birds so you cannot. I'm going full blown bloody. You remember that? What's that movie with that?
You're going falling down.
Last of the Mohicans.
Oh, Last of the Mohicans.
I'm gonna end your seed, bird. I'm gonna eat the heart of your bird. I'm going full was it Mogwai? I can't remember what it's called now.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, you can tell it's summer and it's hot. Everyone's just like, yeah.
We've all gone mad.
It has gone very, very mad. Oh, but this pigeon is doing my head in.
I feel sorry for you.
Anyway, yeah, sorry. Thanks for that. Anyway, that was a bit of a digression. Should we talk about the cover?
I think we have to, because it's not classically great.
Well, it's got He-Man. It's got Dolph Lundgren on the front, and a car, and a skater. And
it has.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a mishmash. There's Outrun in there. There's Skate or Die. There's Happy Darth. Happy Darth. Happy Darth, Adrian.
Happy Darth to you and yours.
Happy Darth.
Oh, may the Happy Darth shine upon you.
Is that how they say Christmas in Wales? Happy Christmas in Wales.
Maybe.
Happy Darth.
Happy Darth. But he is. What's he doing smiling? Not right.
Because they've turned his triangle upside down. It's such a subtle change.
Nobody wants that.
No one turns Darth's triangle upside down.
Absolutely. It's especially when it's a cheese single.
It is. That's how he eats, apparently. That's how he
just
eats.
has everything in triangle form. He has to fit it through that gap.
Exactly. Toblerone is his favourite chocolate, I don't doubt.
He hates Baby Bell.
It's like, I don't like round cheese.
I can't fit it in my mouth shape.
Dairy triangles is the only thing I accept. Okay, Darth.
Yeah, but
niche.
It's the Christmas special. This was 10 Deutschmarks, by the way.
Is that? Oh, of course it was. Yeah, because it's £1.90. That must be about £2 in the UK. Then I didn't realise.
Yeah, £2 in the UK and Deutschmark 10.
I know it's weird that they don't put because on the front cover they've got over £6,000 worth of competition prizes, but they don't put that in Deutschmarks, do they?
What would that be? Quick conversion in my head would be a lot.
That's plenty of Deutschmarks. Well, in German, what they say is it's a lot of Deutschmarks.
A lot of whatever. So it's not a great cover, is it? There's a giant free poster as well.
They didn't do very well in the last Christmas cover, if I think rightly.
No, they didn't.
And think rightly is a very Coronation Street thing to say. I don't know why I said that, but
did you look rightly. Did you look at the free poster?
I didn't look at the free poster.
It's a calendar. It's a double-sided one. On one side, you would never put up. It's the combat school advert with a calendar at the bottom promotion.
No.
And the other is a typical Oliver Frey mishmash of flying alien centaur robot things fighting barbarians on Pegasi.
Okay.
That's the best way I can describe it.
Right. Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
It's very good. I mean, it's very good, Oliver Frey. It's much better than the cover.
Well, it is, because I like the fact that they're in snow. I do like the fact that there's a snowboarder, car in snow. He's ankle deep in snow.
He's a skateboarder. He's not a snowboarder.
He's a skateboarder in snow. That's not going to work, is it?
It's really not. As soon as those wheels get touched down, he's going flying.
He's right up Dolph's, pain.
Masters of the Universe.
And look at the weight of that skater's bulge. You can see it lowering down his trousers. He's heavy with that.
He could be wearing a mappy.
He's burdened with mappy bulge.
Mappy bulge. Happy da, mappy bulge.
Happy Darth. Mappy bulge.
That's how they say Happy New Year.
Okay.
On that note.
That took a linguistic twist. Okay.
on that note.
Okay. On that bombshell.
That's the cover. Should we move into some games?
I think please.
I think we should. Let's get to our first one then. And our first one, it's a sizzler. It's at 96%. It is Driller. Is this right? Was it $14.95? Did I write this down right? Good Lord. Yeah, $14.95 on cassette, $17.95 on disc. Whew, that's expensive. It's better be worth it.
Heavy. That's heavy.
It is, right. Driller. It's a new year, and Freescape is unleashed upon us in the form of Driller. Proper filled-in 3D, Graham. Proper filled-in three-dimensional
I know. Absolutely
graphics.
Solid.
Yeah,
solid 3D solid.
As dots. None of your vectors here. No, it's filled in and solid, if a little angular and a little slow.
Is that filled in and solid? Sounds like a banker group or a solicitor firm.
I was thinking more of a sort of an 80s sort of rap combo.
MC filled in and DC. I'm going to shut up.
No, yeah. Well, anyway, what was that? As with all these things, there's always a trade-off, isn't there, between ambition and speed, because this has very little of that. But we'll come to that in a moment, slowly.
We'll come to that slowly.
Yeah, it's hard to find concrete credits for this. The version but the other versions seem to be made by Chris Andrews, Sean Ellis, and Stephen Northcott, Spectrum, Amstrad, Amiga, and things like that. So I'm with no evidence to the contrary, I'm going to say they're responsible for this. They're probably the people who wrote the Freescape engine. I don't know. If I'm wrong, please let me know. But I couldn't find anything. I did have a search, but couldn't find anything. So the plot of this game, Evath has two moons, mitral and tricuspid, which have been named after valves in the human heart. It's strange.
Yes, they have.
Yeah.
Well spotted.
No, indeed. I'd heard tricuspid. I didn't know mitral, but yeah, I'd heard a tricuspid. I actually thought tricuspid was a tooth, but I knew it was something to do with the body. Turns out it's a valve in the heart. Mitral has been heavily mined by the Ketars, who have now legged it and left the moon in a very precarious
They're the
state.
Ketars. The Ketars.
Oh, the Ketars, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Honestly, Jean-Michel Jarre was like well employing these guys.
He was mining the shit out of Mitral. That's the way he got the power for his laser harp.
Yes, he did. Sorry.
It's powered by the stuff he got from Mitral
power.
Mitral. Anyway, there's a massive buildup of gas under the surface. Sounds familiar to me. Which needs to be vented into space. Yep.
Every Christmas, that sounds familiar to me.
Yeah, and this is the Christmas issue. Because should it explode, it will blast Evath out of its orbit and kill everyone on the planet. To add further terror to this already terrifying premise, a meteor is on collision course with Mitral and will hit it in 4 hours, thus igniting the gas, killing everybody. So that's the plot. Your job then is to gain access to the 18 areas on the moon, figure out where the best place to vent the gas is in each area, and place a drilling station to do just that. And you got to do all this in just 4 hours of real-time play. So to do this, you navigate your excavation probe, and that's what you sort of control, around the world in first-person 3D, controlling your craft with a combination of joystick and keyboard. The basic movement is forward, backwards, and turn left and right. There's a cursor in the center of the screen, and a tap of the spacebar switches you to aim mode, where you can move the crosshair around and shoot at stuff with a tap of the fire button. You can look up and down with P and L, tilt left and right with less than and greater than. You can increase the amount you move forward and backward each step with S and X, and also the angle you turn with A and Z. You can also rise and lower yourself vertically with R and F, do a U-turn with U, place a drill with D, and cancel the drilling if in the wrong place with C. There you go. There's your keyboard controls. If you don't know how to play this, you do now. You can also bring up an information screen, press I think it is, where you can save and load the game, quit, and also toggle between music and sound effects, along with getting information on the zone you're in, how many zones you've cleared, how much gas you've drilled in that zone, and so on and so forth. There's quite a lot of controls here, but they choose good keys to do them with. Rise and fall is R and F, D is for drill, C is for cancel, so on and so on. That's good. We've said this about some flight simulators where they've chosen good keys, obvious keys, and they've done that here. So I'm happy to see that.
Makes sense to do it that way.
It does, yes. And also the speed of the game means you are never really overwhelmed with what is going on. So the fact that it's slow actually helps a certain degree too, because there's all, trying to figure out what to do. So as you move about the world, you might also find a jet that's been left on the surface, and you can dock with this and fly it around should you wish to. You'll also come across laser towers, which will shoot you on sight, and this will damage you, and this can be seen on your UI. So the game is split into thirds, with the top 2/3 of the screen taken up with your 3D view of the world, and the bottom third is the UI. There's plenty to take in from this section, with a graphic of the craft you are in the top middle. There's underneath is your position in 3D space with X, Y, and Z coordinates. There's a small window to show whether you are in movement or attack mode. You can also see how much shields you have left, and energy you have in the bottom left, and also what you will move with each movement with the step and angle values. There's also a small window telling you which sector you are in as well. So there's loads of info. And there's also there's this light bar as well that fills up, telling you how long it's taking to process your maneuver, which is kind of weird. But, this game takes a while to do stuff at times. Anyway, the game starts with you in a rather empty area with no threat, and moving to the left. So if you look there, as you start, look to the left, there's a gap you can go through sort of in this wall. And if you look through that and go to the left, there's a massive X on the floor, huge X, and literally X marks the spot. So this is just, showing you how to do so. You place your drill there, and boom, that's it. You've vented the gas in area 1. That's the first area done. 17 to go, and that's it. That's basically this game. So you can see a doorway in the walls in either side in the way that this sort of landscape is mapped. There's some black doorways. There's also a building you can go in, and in there you can get extra energy if you can refuel and all that sort of stuff. But it's here that the speed becomes an issue. Now, everybody that's played Drill, there's no getting around it. And if you try to, it would take a good couple of hours, because this runs at about 1 frame per second. All right. And that's what it runs at. There's no way around it. And it does drag after a while. So you've really got to commit to this, to getting on with this. But, with a 1 megahertz processor, what exactly do you expect? It's not, we're moving full 3D graphics around and it does, it works, I guess. The 3D filled in buildings and the like are a good first outing for the Freescape engine, and they'll go on, and this will go on to power lots of other games. And it's a sign of things to come. They've got loads of, there was Dark Side, what was the Total Eclipse. There's quite a few ones that came out. And even, I think, towards the end, they actually released a create your own driller game.
Yeah, they did. They released the entire engine for free, yeah.
Yeah, and you could then make your own games in it. So that's quite, it's quite impressive that this engine is coming along like this. And it shows you in 1988 where technology sort of is going. So that's quite good. But, the slowness, it grates. It really starts to drag after a while. As a game itself, it reminded me of Tau Ceti. In that moving around in an alien environment in 3D. Obviously, there's more to this because Tau Ceti was that small window, wasn't it? This has the full-on, full most 2/3 of the top of the screen are all its 3D visuals and tilting and panning, and that's actually quite advanced. Being able to look up, look down. Doom never allowed you to do that. Let's face it. Doom, when it came out, the Wolfenstein games, you couldn't look up and down in them. You just you went forward and back and left and right. That was it. And so, it's not bad. It's just slow. And they sort of mentioned Mercenary as a sort of another game that sort of, did a lot of things that this does. But this felt more like Tau Ceti to me, just with a bigger 3D view. I do need to mention, though, one of the things I do need to mention is here we are, day 1 of 1988, and we might have one of, if not, certainly a contender for best music of the year, because Matt Gray has come in and produced a 15-minute epic tune that actually helps the game in its speed, because that low drone, that starting drone, and the way it provides it, so a really solid, very atmospheric ambience to the entire game. So it doesn't actually, because of that slowness of the pace of that music, kind of the feel of the game feels coherent. There's that's the speed of it doesn't feel actually overbearing. I think if you turn it to sound effects and the game feels really leaden. Have that music playing though, and there's a more, it kind of fits and kind of aids that feeling to it. It feels almost purposeful. It's Carpenter-esque. I thought also the way it builds and grows and the way that drum beat comes in towards the end, it's also Knucklebusters-esque. It's very similar in tone and theme, which I think is along that. And it's really good. And it to me, that music elevates. It's what is a rather dull but technically very clever game to a higher level. It can't do everything, though, to get over the speed of the game, but it helps. And it'll probably be a strong contender come the end of the year in the best audio category. Driller is one of those moments. Everyone knows it. You try and, I think you want to like it because of what it's trying to do rather than, 96% is crazy high, I think. For what is essentially an ambitious, if flawed, title that's pushing things. But again, is it pushing things too far? Is the gameplay suffering because of the ambition? And I think it does. The speed gets in the way, and only it being able to move 60 times a minute. That's not great. But it is what it is. It's we'll see how this performs. Supposedly there's loads of clever stuff as you move around it and you're figuring out puzzles and all that kind of stuff. But it's just you've got to get over that hump with the speed. And I stuck the emulator on at like 300%, and at that point it actually starts to feel okay. But 300% speed boost is kind of what it needs to actually start to feel all right. I don't know. It's an important game, this, I think, for where graphics and visuals and computer games and things are going to go. Because you're starting to get this. But we've seen this, I think, 3D done better in things like Lucasfilm games, the Eidolon, Coronis Rift, those kind of things, which I think did it better, but maybe not as technically. But I don't know. I don't know the technical stuff behind it, but there's something there. I just found it a bit too slow to really be totally engrossing. What about you?
The ambition to create a large-scale, navigable, 3D-filled polyworld and a game engine to do it is bold, isn't it? It's very bold.
Yes, very.
Yeah, and on the C64, like crazy bold. The idea of having a 3D world to explore like this in first-person 3D, which is what it is, it's kind of way ahead of its time. It is, isn't it? I mean, it is way ahead of its time. And I think that's something that's both a blessing and a curse for this. Freescape is without doubt an achievement, and all concerned in there should be patted on the back, really, shouldn't they, for their collective, crazy cleverness.
Yes, yeah.
But no, just for a minute, I'm just thinking, just as a spike, let's just not forget about Sentinel, which kind of did this 3D explorable world faster than Driller did. Okay, there's that.
Was it faster?
I think it was in the way you moved the screen around and stuff. Anyway.
Maybe.
My feeling is that the ambition of this engine far exceeded the playability of the game. It's technically adept, but it runs painfully slow. Of course it does, we know that. In their review, Zapped state that this doesn't detract from the game because it's in of itself quite slow-paced anyway and quite thinky. It's a thinky game, so you need time to think and it's going to be slow and ploddy. That's what you expect. But this is an exploration game and that does require movement, and that movement is painfully, horribly slow. And for me, that was a problem. It was a problem back then and it was a problem now.
Yeah.
But okay, let's just for a minute, let's put the slowness aside. Let's imagine it's not slow and it's a fast game, and whatever the game is, let's have a look at the game underneath. So exploring the 3D world, picking up things, solving puzzles and drilling in the right places, etc., all in the first person, that's not a bad thing to do. That's pretty cool. And there's tons of games that do a similar thing nowadays. So the idea that way of playing games and the way it plays out is that's okay. That it worked out pretty good in the end once the CPU power caught up with that idea. The UI is quite good on this. There's some nice details giving you a sense of control. You're on a mission, you got a goal and all of that. And all of that kind of works really nicely. The audio, as you've said, is brilliant. And there's no way around that. It's absolutely brilliant. This is a really great track. My argument is a little bit, I don't think it suits this game. It feels like it's a scary Halloween type scary game. And maybe that sort of is what they were going for. I don't know. But does that suit a 3D adventure, drilling in the rig, drilling in the ground kind of? I don't know. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But it is really fab, whatever you think of the game. The soundtrack is amazing for this. It really is a really good soundtrack. It's genuinely brilliant. Maybe a little bit over menacing, but I'll let that go because it is really cool. Now, my problem is generally these kind of games at this time, never appealed to me, really. So there was quite a few games, as you said, that involved the Freescape engine, and none of them really, really appealed to me. So this, Total Eclipse, what's the one? Dark Side, and that for all for the same reasons, they never really appealed to me. Now, I know that this has got quite a following, both this and the other games. Now, I genuinely didn't get into the whole FPS thing, I have to say. As an aside, if I take a step back, I didn't get into the whole sort of first-person kind of game until they came of age a bit. So GoldenEye on the N64 and things like that, really, for me, was where it really started to feel like the first-person games actually had a kind of a thing. I know there was other variations of that up to that point a little bit, but GoldenEye for me was the kind of a changeover point when it started to feel like there was really more to the power of this than what we were presented with in Driller and the variants that even appeared on the Amiga later. And so they never really got me hooked, any of these games. That includes Driller and all the others. They never really did. So I do like the idea of Freescape and that engine. And I do like the idea of Driller. I just think that it's just painfully difficult and rendered into difficulty on the C64. And that's just because, and even with the latest demos that you see now, where some of the 3D technology that they're implementing in the demos is amazing to look at. There's crazy code stuff. What they were going for at this particular time was crazily ambitious on a C64. And remember, this is, I think, one load as well. So one load, it's amazing. But Tau Ceti, like you say, was one load as well, and Mercenary was one load. The scope and the idea of this 3D world they're going into is amazingly brave. And I get the idea that this game was brave, and 3D filled in poly is amazing. My issue with this game is that is a hindrance for the experience for people, for some players. If you can tolerate that sort of slowness, and there's bound to be people out there that are fine with that, I don't doubt that, then you're probably going to have a really good 3D explorer / adventure / puzzler on your hands, and you'll go for it, and you'll put up with that. You'll put up with the slow trudgery that is the movement in this game, and it is painfully slow. But for me, I couldn't stand that kind of thing. I don't like that kind of thing. I like sprite games. I like shoot 'em ups. I like moving things around. And I get that this is important. But for me, I don't like I find the idea of this sort of FPS on a C64 at this sort of playing rate, I find it intolerable. This holds nothing for me. I don't like it. And it doesn't appeal to me. In retrospect, looking back now as a person that's played many FPS games, and I can see where it was heading, and I totally get that. And I'm not detracting from the importance of it. Like when we talked about with Maniac Mansion and a few other games. In retrospect, we look back and you go, you know what? Those games were landmarks because they did a thing. Mm-hmm. But I decided when I played this game to switch back into a fairly simple mode. I just played this game just to be playing a game. I loaded it up like I would have done. I'm loading this game up, Driller. And in my mind, weirdly, I'd attributed some of the Zap. Remember the Zap demo with the 3D that was from it was from Sensible when they did that kind of weird 3D thing they did in that demo tape. Yeah. And for reasons I can't explain, I attributed that to Driller. I don't know why. I just thought that was Driller. I don't know why. Back then I did. So back then I remember thinking, wow, if a game comes out with 3D as fast as that'll be amazing. And then Driller came along with it was this slow, chugging 3D. It is painful. And I think I didn't like Driller at the time, apart from the music, and I don't like it now. I thought it was an interesting idea and something that I wanted to see back then, because it sounded like it was Freescape, this 3D engine. I get it now. I totally understand where they were coming from with the importance of it. Back then, I thought it was just too slow to play. I thought it was boring, because the movement of this engine was so intolerably slow. And I like you, I switched into warp mode on the emulator to put up to like 400% or 500%. Even then, it wasn't really that enjoyable. But I could have persevered with it at that, because it reminded me a little bit more of maybe the Amiga sort of a level of stuff and all of that. But the sad thing is, I've said it about vector graphics with the C64. The C64 processor is not the processor for rendering 3D matrices and 3D complexity and filled in 3D polys on a 6502. Are you having a laugh? It's ambition, and that's amazing to think of. And where it led is a crazy place. But at this stage, at this time, with these games, at this hour, no.
Localized to my kitchen.
No, I just think, no. I replayed it and I thought it was boring and slow. And the saddest thing is, like I said, my original thought was that hasn't changed. That said, the music for Driller is brilliant by Matt Gray. It is really brilliant. It is basically Halloween, but it's very, very brilliant. So
it is.
And I'd happily load the game up and listen to the soundtrack many, many times. It was used in so many demos, it's ridiculous. I think Sub-Zero, the demo group, used it in like 50 billion demos just alone. So, because it's so cool.
It is a great tune. It really is.
The sadness is, it's a sadness though. I really later down the line, when things become better, exploring 3D worlds like in Halo, totally cool. This speed, can you imagine Halo played at 1 frame per second?
No.
And that's exactly why this doesn't work for me. So
No. There we go. Slow. I think everyone knows it's slow. It's Driller in it.
Slow. But of its time and ambition. Ambition's amazing, isn't it? Ambition led us to the Sinclair C5.
Did it?
Yeah.
I thought that was stupidity.
No, that was an ambitious thought. A battery-powered vehicle in cities.
I guess. Yeah, I'll take that back.
To avoid fuel and things like that. It's an amazing thought. in practicality, driving one of them next to an articulated lorry, that you are going to shit yourself.
It leads to death.
or shitting yourself, or both.
Oh, both, yeah.
Or
shitting yourself in the moment of death.
Yeah.
But you could do it at the speed of Driller, just one frame per
second, shitting yourself.
Well, Mac Ray does a really slow whine next to you.
Oh,
there's an image. I don't know where to go after that. Don't know.
Go to the toilet, I think.
I think I should. Right, there we go. Driller, it's slow. 96%. I go ambition, but there you go. There we go. Let's move on. Quickly run like that game. And Graham, you've got the next one. You can tell us all about the joys of Jack the Nipper 2 in Coconut Capers.
Yeah, Jack the Nipper 2, yes.
He's back.
Yes.
He's back.
Yes, he's back.
In POG form.
This is obviously from Gremlin Graphics. It's programmed by Andrew Green. The graphics were by Terry Lloyd. And the musician was Ben Daglish. Original concept, Greg Holmes. Okay, following his naughty exploits in Jack the Nipper, Jack and his family have been exiled to Australia. Now, forgive me if I'm wrong, but wasn't another famous Gremlin Graphics character exiled to an island somewhere? Anyway, never mind. Shh. Unhappy with this, Jack has jumped from the plane. Using his nappy as a parachute, he finds himself in the middle of the African jungle, surrounded by dangerous animals and natives. His father is also following close behind him, determined to give his boy good old spanking. Yeah, it's of its time. Jack must cause as much mischief as possible while avoiding the punishment. So that's the nature of the game. It's derivative of a couple of things. It's sort of a half Avid is a Monty, half Jack the Nipper. And the idea of the game is you've got to be naughty in the jungle and essentially raise your naughtyometer again and do all of that sort of stuff. So I think the game is more of a Monty on the Run, Avid is a Monty type affair, really. And with pudgy Future Night style graphics. I hated graphics for this. I'm going to tell you that now because I'm going to repeatedly tell you how shit they are. The jungle is essentially a maze of brown trees with brown ropes in brown land. Brown. It's very brown. It's a brownish jungle over brown. Jungles are green. Jungles are bloody green. They're famous for their greenery, really. Now, if you look at the way that plants digest sunlight and disperse that through their leaves and such, that scientific process produces green, not brown. Brown is the colour of death for plants. It's the colour of autumn. It's the colour of nightmares. Anyway, the jungles are essentially brown in this.
It's got dark
because it's so frustrating. So Jack in this game, he doesn't look like a nipper. For me, he didn't. In the original game, he looked like a baby in a nappy.
Yeah.
This one, he doesn't look like. It looks like an angry bald man in yellow pants.
I've put that. I've got that.
Doesn't look like a baby.
No.
So you control Jack the Nipper, Jack the OAP, Jack the angry bald guy. I'm not sure what Jack is. With
Jack
your
Charlton.
joystick, Jack Charlton, jumping and wandering around, avoiding picking up things to throw and looking for objects. The principal objects of the game is the same. You've got two pockets, one which holds your weapon, one which holds your things that you can be naughty with, and you can move them around and be naughty. It's not as in this game. It's not quite as obvious that what you have to do with those objects. I'll come to that in a moment, though. So, like I say, you control Jack with the joystick. You jump and wander around, pick up things to throw, look for objects. The design here is to explore, I think, and I guess there's a large but very forgettable map. I was wandering around for ages with this map, and quite honestly, I couldn't have told you where I was, what was the purpose, and why I was even there. The main issue for me here, and I'll come to the graphics and stuff in a minute, is that the scenario does not match the idea of being naughty. It made sense in an urban environment to smash pots and throw things around and smash things and knock things off shelves and do all that stuff. It makes no sense that Jack would be somehow making a nuisance of himself in the jungle by throwing coconuts at the natives or the animals. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make sense.
Nature is by its very nature naughty because it doesn't give
exactly.
a crap.
So the idea of this game is fundamentally flawed. And that is a big problem because the nature of Jack the Nipper is that you've got a naughty nipper running around doing naughty stuff. Oh no, and raise the naughtyometer by doing naughty stuff. What naughty things are you going to do in the jungle? The one thing they don't do here is set fire to everything. That's like the ultimate naughtiness because that's you burn everything down in the jungle. That's gonna but they don't do that. So you've got to go around collecting and trying to figure out the nuances of jungle-related mischievity and being mischievous. And that isn't really that fun. And you don't look like a baby anymore. You look a bit like a jelly baby / OAP with yellow pants kind of running around in very Future Night style graphics. So that kind of medium res chunk. I think it's the same guy and probably the same team, but either way, you got that chunk. The principal design of the game is the same as well. So it feels less like Jack the Nipper, more like Future Night with a jelly baby, really. And that's a problem because it doesn't feel, those things combined together don't make for fun. And this game isn't fun. It's no fun. There's no fun attached. You spend most of your time hopping about different things, trying to figure out the nuances of where you are with different enemy types. You're under almost constant attack from various different things. It feels like an Alvida's a Monte game where you're trying to explore things and pick things up, but it doesn't have the coherence of that either, nor does it have the coherence of a Jack the Nipper game. So it feels like a really weird hybrid of things that don't really work. The graphics don't work. The sound is kind of horrible and doesn't work. It's not Ben Daglish at his greatest ear. This feels like it was thrown together. Nobody really thought about it that much. The levels are quite expansive, so there's a lot of stuff to go at. But having a lot of stuff to go at and it being crap are kind of mutual bedfellows here. I didn't think this was very good. This lacked the sense and fun of the original. And it's all brown and it's all squashed and it's all dull to look at and it's all very, very nice. I don't see how I thought it might work. I don't get Jack the Nipper. It didn't give me a baby causing trouble in an environment vibe. This gave me the idea of you being a baby, because in the game you run around on these platforms, you can jump up and down things, you can fall off platforms and your nappy becomes your parachute like it was for the story. You can pick things up, you can do all of those things and all of that sort of stuff. You move around with the joystick, you can jump and you can interact with objects and pick things up, but it doesn't feel coherent. None of it feels really coherent. It doesn't feel like a really logical extension of having a baby in the jungle and being naughty. It doesn't make sense. It makes no sense, this game. It doesn't work. And like the graphics and like everything else, everything in this game looks like brown turds. The backgrounds look like turds. Everything looks like turds. This game is a big bunch of turd. And I didn't think it was very good at all. Now, it got a review in Zapped of 72%. And for a full price game, I find that obtuse. This game was not very good. And for me, I would have put this more in the sort of 20s to 30s. This game was shocking. It doesn't work. The central premise does not work. A baby in the jungle causing trouble. For who? What, for the lions? The baby's going to cause trouble for lions. By doing what? For the natives? By what? Throwing coconuts? By doing what? It makes no sense. And I know games don't have to make sense, but contextually, it made sense in the city for this baby to be doing something silly and knocking stuff off shelves and causing trouble and being followed around. The perpetuity of the enemies in this game in the jungle make no sense whatsoever, and because of that, I thought this was shocking and shite. Gremlin graphics, honestly, come on, rubbish. What about you?
Yeah, I didn't like this either. It's a strange sequel, this. And you're right. Naughtiness, being naughty, doing things requires sort of societal norms. And if you don't have societal norms, then what are you actually being naughty against? It thematically just doesn't work. It's like it's just a jungle. Things get eaten, things get killed, stuff happens. So, I don't know, it's very strange. It's a strange sequel to the original. It's clear the original team have moved on, and they have. And the people behind Future Night have changed what was a very British original into what I found was a slightly offensive sequel as well. It looks and plays like Future Night with that same kind of visual style. And for some reason, Jack has changed from a baby into a 60-year-old man in shades. It's quite the change. This is much more a traditional mapathon for me kind of game with loads and loads of screens, things to collect and use. And as you progress, and it all plays as you would expect a game like this to play. If you play Future Night or any of those climb down ladders, climb up ladders, jump around, find some enemies, map, flick screen to flick screen to flick screen. You may get something out of this if you like these massive Mapper's Delight style of game. But if this game's not for you, there's nothing here that'll make you change. It's not. So and also I thought just to bring up the depiction of the native people. I thought it's quite problematic in this day and age.
It is a bit.
I don't like them. They're really tiny in comparison to Jack, who's massive, like a massive 60-year-old baby.
Yeah, it makes no sense. The scaling and the graphics are all crazy wrong.
Yeah. Jack the Nipper 2 coconut crappers, as far as I'm concerned. I didn't think this was very good at all. But it just makes no sense. It thematically makes no sense. Makes no sense.
No, I don't get why they did it. I don't get why they put it in the jungle. Even graphically, they look like they struggled, so...
Yeah, I mean, there's loads of zones and stuff like that, but again, it's just, if you, like I said at the start there, to be naughty, you need societal norms.
Yeah.
If you don't have them, if you don't have something to rail against, to be naughty against, then what do you have? You're not being naughty.
No, being naughty in the jungle makes no sense.
No.
And I found that very problematic for a game that's reliant on you being naughty for things.
Yeah, exactly. It makes no sense. There we go. Jack the Nipper 2 in coconut crappers. Let's move along. 10 quid for that as well. Puh! No, thank you.
No.
Smells like the contents of his nappy. That's what I think for that much money. Let's move on. We have a budget title up next. This is the imaginatively titled Rainbow Dragon. Dragon. I know, it sounds nice, doesn't it? It's a budget Firebird game. This £2. It got 41%. And it's a strange thing that sees you trying to guide a dragon who has been trapped inside a magic labyrinth to safety. You've got to basically guide them out. So in order to do this, you've got to solve puzzles and find and destroy 10 chests. So that's what you've got to do. That's it. Just go around the labyrinth, solve puzzles, destroy chests. That's it. It was made by Duck Software. Never heard of them. It's got a title screen by Matt Sneap and music by Anthony Lees. He did Last Ninja, and then I don't know what happened after that, but hey-ho. The title screen to this is really nice. If you've actually looked at the title screen, it's really nice. It shows a big red...
Very nice.
You see if you can notice a problem, though. It shows a fierce red dragon.
Yes.
Rather than the green of the cover or the game.
Don't worry yourself too much about the colours.
Yeah, I think someone just rang up Matt and just said, we need a picture of a dragon. It's Rainbow Dragon. Just do that. All right, fine. And red was what they got. And they were like, oh, we need to be green. I'm not doing it anymore. Anyway, when the game loads, we get an interesting title screen with options to start beyond level 1, music on or off, control method, joystick or keys, and start. Pressing F7 starts the game. It's also massive lettering is Rainbow Dragon. Massive lettering. Massive. Press
Probably
F7.
rastery colourness.
Yeah, it's a rainbow. It's the rainbow, full effect. Taste the rainbow. Taste it. Taste it, Graham.
Rainbow.
Pressing F7 starts the game, and the odd game is presented to you as a chunky but large and fairly well animated green dragon flies on. The odd intro sort of, this is green dragon flies on in the bottom half of the screen. There's nothing around him at this point, because then as you stop in the middle, the labyrinth appears around you and the game starts. It's like this weird intro. And it's at this point that none of it makes any sense. None of this. The bottom half of the screen houses the labyrinth, and this is seen side on. And it's kind of reminiscent of Phantom of the Asteroid, except the dragon is massive and the path is narrow. And connection with the sides of the labyrinth will cause you to lose energy. So this part of the screen, this bottom half, and focusing on the bottom half of this, we'll get to the top half in a bit. This part of the screen scrolls around and follows you as you move, a la Phantom of the Asteroid. It's kind of like Phantom of the Asteroid, but with a bigger sprite. You're a dragon instead of the fat round ton guy who was in that. Yeah. And that follows you around as you move the labyrinth. You try and navigate around it. The top half of the screen, though, has the 4 pillars that support the labyrinth. Because, sorry, I forgot to mention that the labyrinth is resting on the cracking pillars, and should they break, the labyrinth will collapse and it's game over. What?
Yeah.
What?
You know what that means, don't you? When they said Rainbow Dragon, someone's like...
it's resting on the 4 pillars, man.
It's resting on the 4 pillars of the Dragon Kingdom.
And they're cracking. So
yeah, they're going to crack.
Yeah, if you press space, though, it flicks control to your magic wand on the top half of the screen. And if you put the end of the wand on the cracking pillars, you press fire, it repairs them for a small period. Oh, yeah.
Rainbow Dragon, man. Yeah.
What's this called? Rainbow Dragon. Put the end of the wand on the cracking pillar.
It is.
Yeah, so there's also some spells in this box off to the right at the top of the screen that you can cast as well. And these are represented on the right of the screen with some icons. And these are a diamond, which is to look for magic in the labyrinth. There's a scroll, which means to read a spell. There's some squares in a triangle, which is destroy illusion. And some other squares, which means to restore items of some sort. I didn't understand any of this, or what any of it did, or what any of it meant, or anything. There's also some bars on the left with the letters T, E, C, and M, which relate to the time left, that's T, energy, which is E, the remaining magic of the dragon, and how many chests are left. But C is for magic and M is for chests left. What?
Okay.
No, I think somebody did it wrong in the code. I don't know what's happening here, which is baffling. Anyway, you spend your time squeezing the giant dragon through the narrow maze before flicking back to the top part to repair the pillars and try and figure out what magic to use and when. And it's just boring and dull. Boring, dull, and annoying. The pillars crack at an alarming rate. You're constantly having to switch back, move your slow-moving wand over these things, press fire to wait for a second or two where it goes boop and re-things them. Then they instantly start to crack again. The dragon's too big. It's slow to control. It takes an age to flick from right to left. And whilst it's an okay sprite, shall we say, it's okay. It's recognizable as a dragon. It's big, but it's not very well. It's not very well shaded. It's got no shade or anything. It's more of a friendly dragon. It's like Pete's dragon rather than the first one from the cover of the title screen. The maze is really dull. The constant switching to the top half of the screen to repair some pillars with magic is just bewildering and dull. Whatever. There may be some nice touches in the maze and some of the puzzles, but when it's so lethargic to play and meandering to navigate, you just don't want to really engage with this. And even at £2, there are better, less annoying versions of this sort of game already on the market. So rain no dragon is what I said about this damn thing. I did not enjoy this. I'd never heard of it before, and I never will again. What about you? Did you enjoy your time being the rainbow dragon?
It was a lovely title screen. Lovely. I thought in the game, decent graphics. They were okay. It looked like a dragon. It moved like a dragon, and he's a dragon. Okay music, I suppose. Anthony Lee hasn't done a bad job. It's okay. But the game controls like a piece of crap. It feels like a step backward, really, this game, because of the whole up, down, left, right. You can't move angularly. It's not really clear what you have to do, and what there is, and the dragon is too big for the cave and the view you've got, which means that it feels like you've got nowhere to move. It feels claustrophobic. Yeah. Claustrophobia is not a good thing to have in a game with a dragon. They tend to not to like that. It wasn't clear about the things that you could get the dragon to do, because I breathed fire on something which I thought would do something and it didn't. After that, I couldn't do that again. Then you sort of switch between your wand view and you can choose the things at the top, and it didn't really coordinate and make a lot of sense. So the confusing system of controls for the spells and the pillars collapsing and those things and those two things didn't make for a very coherent experience. And I suppose the only thing you could say here is if you like mapping games, if you like mapping things, it's probably got a fairly extensive map, because I managed to sort of flap my way into sort of different areas in this game, for what a better description.
At one point, it just changed colour on me for seemingly no reason. Well, I
just died in this game. I was thinking I'm doing okay. I flapped my way to sort of certain points, and I was just like, "You're dead." At the end, like, what did I do? And I guess I didn't flap my way out of the right area, or didn't burn. I don't know. It wasn't really clear what I was meant to be doing at any given time. So because there isn't a decent game under the hood here, the graphics and sounds, they're kind of okay. It could have been something, maybe. But the idea of it being, I like the idea of the pillars, and I'd like the idea of it. The implementation was awful. The dragon did look like a nice sprite. It looked like a big dragon, Pete's dragon kind of dragon, though. Not like a ferocious-looking dragon, but kind of a friendly-looking, portly thing that kind of flubbed and flopped around in the caves. The caves did not look like a place where that dragon would end up. No, because if he did, he's not going to be able to maneuver around in there. He's going to get trapped, depressed, probably just going to live there for a while. But, dragons live for hundreds and hundreds and thousands of years. He's going to be awful. Angry thing. Yep. Anyway, the rainbow dragon. I think this is an idea of a game that never quite germinated. And I think they just went, just release the damn thing. You've got a rainbow. Has it got a dragon in it? Yeah. Does it feature rainbows? I suppose it's different colours. Yeah, it's a rainbow dragon then. So £2, 41%, about right. Maybe I'd have given it maybe less, because I don't think there was a lot of game to it. But I did enjoy my time with it. I thought it was pretty crap. I'd never come across it before either. So a whole new experience for me, this one. Awful. Yeah,
a negative one. As they are. There you go. Rainbow Dragon. Don't know. Is that the name? That's not the name of the Greenpeace boat, is it?
That was the Rainbow Warrior.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Rainbow Dragon would have been cooler, though.
Yeah, maybe. It would have sunk just as quick.
It would. It's a pesky French getting at it. Maybe, possibly, allegedly. I don't know whether they did or not.
We don't know who did what.
Let's flap on out of this labyrinth before those pillars collapse around us and move on to our last game of this section. And Graham, you have the pleasure, perhaps, of telling us all about Basil, the Great Mouse Detective.
Another game from Gremlin Graphics.
Mm-hmm.
This time coded by Bob Armour, I think that's the name. The graphics are just by John. Musicians, again, is Ben Daglish. It's the Gremlin team. And this is a Disney license that they'd acquired. So this was a big film. This was the first film after the Black Cauldron, I think, for Disney.
Mm.
And it was quite a big success for them. It was, it was a big play on a theme for them, but it was a success. So this was a licensed game. Now, licensed games haven't fared so well. Let's see how this one does. Let's just, let's see how they do. Good on them. So, Basil the Great Mouse Detective, it was $9.99 this. It got 77% from the Zappers.
Pay for that license. Got to pay for that license.
Exactly. Basil the Great Mouse Detective lives in the basement of 221B Baker Street. I've been there recently, actually. There's a policeman stood outside the door and outside the museum there all the time because it's like a touristy thing. I actually had a crepe. You could say crap. I say crepe outside of that, but let's just shh. Anyway.
You just tempted the policeman. Arrest me,
you,
dog.
Come here. Hey, I felt like going to Indiana Jones and come here, Gunnar, come here. Anyway, so he lives there. And he's apparently the greatest mouse detective. This is all it's very similar to Sherlock Holmes and all of that. So his attempts to solve a recent case have led to his trusty sidekick being kidnapped. The case that he's on will lead Basil through the seedy waterfront district of London, through to the backwater sewers, and finally to confront the kidnapper and aggressor himself, Professor Rattigan. And it follows the similar, not the same, similar plot to the Disney film. So you've got to rescue your sidekick, Mr. Dawson, Dr. Dawson, by collecting the 5 clues from the 3 scenarios you find yourself in. Those are the shops, the docks of London, the London sewers, and Rattigan's den. In the game, in this game, Dr. Dawson, the Watson character in Sherlock Holmes, so he's kind of Watson to your Sherlock Holmes, has been kidnapped, and you've got to try and rescue him. So you play as Basil, and you've got to use your joystick to control your Basil character to traverse the 3 scenarios in the game, finding clues to aid you in your rescue attempt. This sees you clambering across platforms and entering houses through the letterboxes to try and enter these areas to try and find more clues. Here, you can use a space bar in this game to examine objects such as jam jars, tin cans, chests, carpet bags, which will, if of interest, appear under your magnifying glass at the foot of the screen. As you examine, a red drop symbol will flash, and you can press up or down to either pick up the object up or drop the object, depending on what you want to do. You do it with the fire button. The key thing in this game is to find the clues, of which there are 5 per level, to help you get to the next level. To find the 5, and on to the next level you will go. You can carry up to 5 objects at once, and you can use your magnifying glass to identify any false clues. There's 8 false clues in each scenario, and you need to weed those out by pressing the question mark on the keyboard. The magnifying glass will tell you what is real and what is false. So you've got to basically, almost Impossible Mission style, navigate your way around, search the clues, and find the ones that are real and ones are false. You can also when you search the objects, you can find cheese, which boosts your energy because your energy is constantly depleted. I'll come to the whole pain of the constant depletion of your energy in a minute. You also pick up mouse traps, which you can use to store in your pockets, and you can use against Rattigan's minions, and you press T to use those. And if you find nothing, well, there's nothing in there. All the while, in this game, you are attacked, and I'm going to say this, you're not just attacked, you are followed and tracked by the evil minions of Professor Rattigan. And so you're constantly under attack. Now, we've said many times before, one of the key things about these exploratory games is that you do not constantly attack the protagonist, because that's really stupid. It's really stupid in a game like this, Adrian. It's really stupid because it makes it really annoying to play, because your energy is constantly going down, and it's not like these things are in a classic sort of Manic Miner style on a platform going left and right. These things will follow you and literally hover at your sprite location across wherever you are, so you can ominously very rarely avoid them. Mm-hmm. That's a problem. I think that's a big problem. So
yep.
So the game revolves around you, obviously making your way through the 3 areas, finding the clues, you find clues, and then eventually you end up outside Rattigan's, and you can attack sort of Rattigan and do those things. And that is similar to the film. But I'm going to actually draw a line between the film and the game, because this is a license that involves the film and involves the characters and involves the brouhaha. But this game is a very poor attempt at making anything lively out of that license, because this falls back on very borrowed, boring techniques for Gremlin graphics, which is a crappy platform game where you're jumping around, entering letterboxes and clambering on platforms and searching for things. This is akin to Avi Design Monty again, and this isn't that dissimilar to the previous Gremlin graphics game. There's a theme developing here, I think. So it follows a fairly simple idea, but it overcomplicates things in this game with really stupid key commands and silly key command logic. The endless grind of the enemies is really annoying in this. They're constantly at you. They're constantly taking energy away, and you will die. You only got one life in this game, so if you die, you're dead. So you have to really think about that. And that over the course of this, the way this game works, that does not work for this game. This game needed lives. It needed lives, not just one life. The graphics are bitty and brown. There's loads. Again, it's just a game full of gremlin brown. I'm going to call it gremlin brown because that's what it is. This is a game full of gremlin.
That's copyrighted by Games Workshop.
Gremlin brown, texture like brown. Through the ages, they really like brown. So there's so much brown going on. The endless grind of the enemies is stupid in this game. The graphics are generally kind of okay, but they are bitty and brown. There's a lack of definition between the characters. You look like a kind of version of Basil, a mouse, and there are characters in it that look like mice by process of scale, but they're just kind of, there's no real characterization between the different types. They're just things that are getting your way and annoy you in this game. There's no real definition. And we come to a game later, I think it's Octapolis, which has a very clear definition between enemy types and who you are. We'll talk about that maybe later. Anyway, so because of that lack of definition, this felt to me like it might have been built with the Future Night engine. This did have a real feel about that, and so did the previous game, really. The characters do kind of look like the central thematic, I suppose. They kind of look like a Basil mouse and a Ratigan thing. But that's basically saying that they look like a mouse and a rat. Now, those are the most derivative creatures on Earth. It's like saying, now, draw a rabbit. Does it look like that rabbit or that rabbit? Rabbits look like rabbits, and mice look like mice, and rats. There's no differentiation really here. A mouse and a rat, and these things look like what they are. But I suppose it at least matches it sort of matches the Disney aesthetic. The problem with the Disney movie of Basil the Great Mouse Detective is that it was derivative of something that didn't quite work. Yes, it was Sherlock Holmes with a mouse and all of those things, but it just kind of didn't work. It was in that period where Disney movies just didn't quite work very well. Fox and the Hound and Black Cauldron and this one, they weren't quite there yet. They weren't quite getting it. There was something not quite right about them. This is the better one of those, but it doesn't quite work. And it really follows the aesthetic. So that problem is persistent in this game. This game doesn't know where it needs to be. So you end up with a boring platformer where you're running around picking up objects and searching for things, sort of impossible mission style, which makes no sense in the context of this game, in order to progress to a point when you wouldn't want to be there. So you're just really doing the same thing a lot. It doesn't feel like any fun. The problem here, the key problem is this game is not fun. It's actually pretty boring. Jumping around and avoiding enemies quickly becomes a chore, because you're constantly energy drained. And the central conceit is repetitive. Remember, you've got to do what I'm doing to find the 5 objects, go to the next level. Now, I know there's only 3 scenarios, but you've got to find the 5 objects, navigate the 8 fake objects, and do all of that stuff repeatedly over and over again. It's dull, 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 dull. The main music is okay in this, I suppose. I thought it was shrill. It reaches a kind of point when outside the pigeons were sort of looking at each other angrily, thinking, I'm gonna scrag you in a minute. You're done, you screechy weirdo. So it's very shrill. In game, the sounds are kind of okay. It's just the core problem here is this game is not any fun. A platform game without fun. Why would you play this? If you could play Monty on the Run, which is a way better version of any of these games, whether it's this one or the others, the problems are that when they overcomplicate things, and Gremlin seem to do this a lot, throw loads of ideas in, overcomplicate things, it doesn't make for a good pudding. You know what? Bananas and custard is just bananas and custard. And it's lovely and delicious. It does not need lots of extra ingredients. And I think this is a problem here. They had to do that because it's a Disney license. It makes no sense. And because of that, it's poor. And the poorness of this is a shock, really. I think this is a really bad license. It got a high percentage, I think, because in the reviews, the zappers all said, yeah, graphics are okay, but you know what, you can go with it. You got something to explore. I don't think that's really a fair review of this. I would put this against Monty on the Run and say, you know what, if you aren't doing a Disney game where you're being chased by something like Monty on the Run, you're doing something wrong, because that's fundamentally every Disney movie is about the main character being chased by something or trying to find something. Monty on the Run would have been a much better proposition if you substituted Monty for this mouse character, this Basil character. It makes more sense. But what do I know? Retrospectively, we can all do things, can't we?
Absolutely.
I thought it just annoyed me. Another annoying Gremlin game. So, no, not good. What about you?
Yeah, I'm not going to argue with anything you said. It's another flick screen multi-item arcade adventure. In fact, the second in 4 games so far. It's very brown, this, as you noted. Very brown.
So brown.
But I think the sprites were okay for a little blocky. The side graphics were quite nice, I thought, though, with the sort of portraits of the different characters from the film. They're all right. It's not... It's right. It's not that it's a bad game. It's not that it's programmed badly. So it's just, if you're into this kind of flick screen mapping stuff, then this half of the podcast is right up your alley. But this feels like Jack the Nipper 2 with different graphics. Wander, collect, try and figure out where to use the items.
Yeah, absolutely.
Each to get health back, bit of jumping, basic platforming, scamper through letterboxes. Although I did think that was quite a nice touch. I did like that bit. But there's little else to bring you back to it unless this is the kind of game for you. And we've got so many of these now. There's little in this to make you want to diss over the countless other variants of the genre. So it is what it is. It's just
there's a lot of loading in this game as well.
Yeah, there was a lot of loading. You know, for me, it does not take a detective to work out that this is not up to snuff. That's what I thought. So it's this and Jack the Nipper 2. It's just the same game.
Well, it's Professor Moriarty is the engineer behind both of them. We should have figured that out, really.
Damn him. Damn you, Moriarty.
MoriartyGames.com.
Moriarty software.
Guaranteed to make you mad.
Absolutely. And then try to take over the world.
Terrible.
Damn you, Moriarty. You are the nemesis.
Did you actually, as an aside, have you actually watched Basil the Great Mouse Detective? When was the last time you saw that movie?
Oh, in the 80s.
Well, I watched it for this podcast because I'm dedicated like that.
You are dedicated.
And I tell you, the actual movie is really, really good. It's a really classically, I think one of the last classically animated Disney movies of that time.
Yeah, it is. I think it is the last.
And it's like The Rescuers. If you like Rescuers, you'll like it. And I'm just saying that because obviously there's a lot of love goes into some of these Disney movies at this particular time during the painful transition of Disney. This was one of the great love when the animators really put their love into the animation and stuff like that. And it feels a lot like a sort of a weird Rescuers almost sequel in a weird way. It's such an amazing thing to watch. So I'd recommend you go and watch it. Just don't play this game afterwards because you want to smash your own teeth out.
No, I'm not. I'm never going to load up this again. Not ever. Yeah. Not
it's toilet paper. No, it's toilet paper. No, don't do it.
Indeed. Oh, there we go. There's our first 4 games. We're going to go take a break, wet our whistles, and then we will be coming back. After this quick break, we'll be back. When I can speak, we'll be looking at the single charts from January 1988. So, yeah, see you in a moment.
The novel Escape from the Commodore 64 by David Hearn is out now. Growing up in the 80s is a chore for Sarah, who feels misunderstood by her parents and badgered by Reese, her bothersome brother who incessantly prattles on about his treasured computer games. When Reese tells her one of the games tried to pull him inside the computer, she laughs off his fanciful fib. She waggles the joystick to disprove his fairy tale and is pulled into the computer. Now trapped in games she'd never had any interest in playing, how can she possibly beat them? With the help of feisty Nell, another trapped player, can Sarah find her way back home, or is it game over? An evil madman, a hostile planet, bloodthirsty robots, a never-ending throng of karate experts, and relentless digital soldiers will do their best to ensure Sarah never escapes. Available from Amazon and all good online retailers, find out if there's a way out of the beige bread bin of betrayal for Sarah in Escape from the Commodore 64.
And there you go. We're back. We promised we would be, and here we are. Now let's get into singles in January 1988. Just if you've missed the thing and you're expecting albums as well, albums are next week.
We've had to split it out.
Yeah, we're killing ourselves. Killing ourselves softly with these games, to paraphrase a song. So we're slowing things down. There's less games. So we just, that's what it is. It's singles this week anyway, so let's get into them. Number 1 singles, as ever. For the first 2 weeks of the month, Always on My Mind by Pet Shop Boys.
It's not on my mind always, but I get it.
You don't like it, do you? We discussed the possible controversy around that and how they kept, what was it, off number 1? I can't remember. Was it Rick
Astley? Yeah. When I Fall in Love.
Oh, yeah, because they released the original, didn't they?
Yes, they did. Sneaky buggers.
Diabolical. Kicking that from the number 1 spot was Heaven is a Place on Earth by Belinda Carlisle for 1 week.
Good song.
Good song. We like that, yeah. Before that was ousted by another female artist, and that was I Think We Are Alone Now from
Good
Tiffany.
track.
Yeah, it's all right. Yeah, it's a good pop tune.
It is originally recorded by Tommy James and the Shondells back in, I think, 1964, I think.
Oh.
Tiffany's last name is Darwish, which I'm sure I remember it from a film.
Darwish.
Darwish, yeah. I want to say it's an alien. I can't think what it is anyway.
Not Welsh for Happy Easter.
Anyway, she was 15 years old when that song was released. 16 when the album went to number 1. It's crazy, isn't it? That she was like that age, making her the youngest female singer to top the US album chart and also the first singer born in the 70s to hit the top spot, which is interesting. I don't know that. That doesn't make sense, the last part, but okay, I'm going to go with it because it's from Wikipedia anyway.
Obviously, she was, if it's 1988, she was born in 1972, wasn't she?
Yeah, it makes sense. I just didn't realise Tiffany was up. I remember it appearing in the UK. I don't remember getting a lot of traction in the UK now. I remember the song was popular. I think we're alone now.
I remember it being everywhere.
No.
There's a slew of big jumpers on the back of this record.
Yeah. But it's just a good song. It's a good song. I still like it now, so it's a good song.
Yeah, it's fine. Single releases, there's not much on the 3rd of January. No, in at number 87, You've Lost That Loving Feeling from the Righteous Brothers.
The mystery as to what... That's been in the top 10 in the UK 3 times, so I don't know why. Just milking it. Go away. Leave space for others. Massive milk.
Number 95, My Baby Sure Can Shag by the Tams. Continuing the shagathon.
They're not letting go, are they?
No.
That shagging.
They're not. They keep on doing it. They really do. Number 96, Guilty for Loving You by Carl St. Clair.
I couldn't get my head around if the video for that was real.
I reckon it is. I don't know. Yeah. Slow month of January, anything can get in the charts.
We'll put it in the show notes. Because it's not synchronized. I mean, the vocals are not synchronized to the visuals at all. It's like look made by somebody that was having can you make me a music video? Yeah, okay, I'll do that. Yeah, right.
And at number 97 was the Glasgow Rangers Boys with Boys in Blue, by the Boys in Blue. So this is a song by the Glasgow Rangers football team. Gotta love them.
I don't know much about them.
What, Glasgow Rangers?
Glasgow Rangers, yeah, are they good?
Well, they're the second biggest team in Scotland. Well, some might say the biggest. There's them and Celtic, but they were. If I can remember rightly, they were always. It was always either Celtic or Glasgow or Rangers vying for the top spot. No one ever else. I think Aberdeen.
Right.
When what's his face, who went on to manage Man U. I think Aberdeen had a run as well. What was his name? The Man United's famous manager. Oh God, it's completely gone from my head.
Bobby Manchester.
Robbie Manchester, Bobby Charlton. No, it gave a hairdryer. What was his name? He was manager for like 30 years.
You should know that.
I know I should. Alex Ferguson, that was it. Alex Ferguson.
All right.
So Alex Ferguson, yeah, but Rangers and Celtic. But then Rangers, due to which I think was some financial impropriety, got put into administration or bankrupt. Something happened a few years back and they got booted down to the lowest division.
Oh, okay. Crazy.
They've come back since, and now they're battling again for the top spot. But yeah, they had to go through several seasons of not being able to do anything. It's kind of crazy. I did notice that this song had stabby synth trumpets.
I'm trying to erase them because there's so many of these tracks that have them.
Yeah,
I'm now at the point where I'm at the death to the stabby.
Absolutely. There's too much stabby going on. 10th of January, in at number 19 was All Day and All of the Night by the Stranglers.
Don't understand why they did this.
Album filler, cover,
it must
easy.
Be, but why that? I mean, the Kinks track is a classic, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's a decent version of it, but it does nothing different.
No, it's just like they've just like wrote. Should we cover the Kinks song? Should we add anything extra to it? No. Make sure we add nothing to it. Yeah. It needs to be exactly similar. Oh, okay. It sounds very depressing. Number
21 was Come Into My Life by Joyce Sims.
Interesting track. I don't have a lot of knowledge about Joyce Sims, apart from the fact she was born in Rochester, studied music in college, learned a lot of instruments, and her agent introduced her to the Sleeping Bag Records, who signed her in 1986. Her biggest hit was Coming Into My Life. She's a bit of a side note of talent, and yet she is very talented. Her singing is great.
Yeah.
And you've pointed out there, I think that you've heard her in something else, and it's hard to identify.
No, it's this. I recognise this tune, that Come Into My Life. I got so much love to show you.
Yeah, and I was the same.
That's the same. But I didn't recognise her version. But I was like, "Is this covered?" But I couldn't find it being covered.
I wonder if it'd been sampled somewhere in maybe a house track or something like that.
I mean, it was re-released twice in 1995 and 2004. I think it was 2004. So maybe
a lot of these tracks were re-released as house mixes, or they were sampled. Sorry, as part of house mixes. It's a very high likelihood that's what the case is.
Yeah. Just that tune, I was like, I recognise this, but I didn't recognise it from this song. That was weird.
No.
Number 29, Sign Your Name Across My Heart. I Want You to Be My Baby by Terence Trent D'Arby.
Sign your name across my heart. That one.
That's the one.
It sounds a bit like Michael Jackson in that, I think. It's not a bad song, is it? It's quite very it's sophisticated, isn't it, that one?
Yeah. Sophisto pop, suitable for all good dinner parties in 1988.
Yeah, I never got invited to any of them. I don't know why, though.
I know why.
Well, I do know why, really.
We didn't know anybody that had dinner parties. Not in 1988.
I went to one dinner party where some girl told me she'd been arrested for armed robbery. That's my experience. Anyway, he's now known as Sananda Maitreya. Yes, so that's Terence Trent D'Arby now. Drop the Derby name. I'm thinking because the football team probably didn't do so good at the time. He was Terence Trent Manchester for a while.
Well, to be fair,
he moves around.
There is actually his original name had a built-in rivalry between it because the River Trent runs through Nottingham, and then you have Derby, and Nottingham and Derby are vociferous enemies in the football league. So you can't be Terence Trent Derby. You're crossing the streams.
Yeah,
quite literally crossing
the
Trent.
Nobody wants to cross them.
No, streams to cross.
Tributary is no.
You really don't want to. Number 32, Behind the Wheel by Depeche Mode.
Boppy. It's from the 6th studio album, Music for the Masses.
Yeah.
Very bleak, but boppy.
Yeah, it's a good tune, this. Did you watch the video?
Yes.
It's very Anton Corbijn, isn't it?
Yes, very totally.
It looks very Italian neo-realist, and starts to show that shows the views of lascivious churchmen.
Yeah,
I noted.
Yeah, it's just
watching it.
Bleak-looking shit is what I thought, but okay, I'll go with that.
Yeah. Number 43, Bring the Noise by Public Enemy. You can talk about this because.
Well, it's the first song off the group's 1988 album. It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back. The lyrics also have a notable metrical complexity, making extensive use of meters like the dactylic hexameter. Are you familiar with the dactylic hexameter, Adrian?
Is that in a Star Trek episode?
Yes, but also dactylic hexameter, also known as the heroic hexameter and the meter of the epic, is a form of meter or rhythmic scheme frequently used in ancient Greek and Latin poetry. The scheme of the hexameter is usually as follows, writing dash if we imagine a dash for a long syllable and a U for a short, and a UU for a position that may take a long or two short. It is dash UU, dash UU, dash UU, dash UU, dash UU, dash U. Thus, there are 6 feet, each of which is either a dactyl, that's a dash UU, or a spondee, that's a dash dash. The first 4 feet can either be dactylis, spondees, or a mix. The 5th foot can also sometimes be a spondee, but this is rare, as it's most often is a dactyl. The last foot is a spondee. So the words typical and elephant both demonstrate the dactylic stress pattern. There we go. I'm glad we cleared that up.
I have no idea if you've just made it all up and I'm just sat nodding or whether that's actually real.
No, that's genuinely real. That's real.
Spondee.
Yeah, I don't think, and I'm just saying this, I don't mean to be rude, but I don't think Public Enemy were genuinely thinking about their dactylic hexameter
when they were.
Bring the Noise.
But isn't spondee related to Chuck D?
Well, you could make that approximation yourself.
I will do. There we go. Bring the Noise. I only know that because that song was featured as one of the collaborations in the Judgment Night album.
Yeah, if it's the Anthrax.
It was Anthrax, wasn't it?
Yeah. Diddle 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 diddle. Yeah.
Bring the Noise.
I hate it.
I really like that, but there you go. No, I don't really like Anthrax, but I did like that collaboration.
Death to you and your shoes.
Number 45. I Can't Help It by Bananarama. I just liked it.
It's the Bananarama.
Banana. Yeah.
This is from their 4th studio up. It's a banana. It's not. It's neither. It's not. This is not. That's not dactylic hectometer. Whatever it was. I can't even say it now. The spondees are off. Anyway, that's from their fourth album. We've spoken about it before, which is Wow. But it's the final Bananarama single to feature Siobhan Fahey, who announced her departure shortly after its release. It's not a very good song, is it?
Nope, stabby synth. Lots of stabby.
Well, Stock Aitken and Waterman, you're going to have to expect it.
Stock Aitken and stabby. Number 50, Rock the House, 1988, featuring the Cookie Crew.
Yeah, rock the house, rock.
Yes.
That.
This was by the Beatmasters, featuring the Cookie Crew.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm. Yeah,
I recognise that when I listened to that. I recognise that intro.
Yeah, you would do straight away because it was played so everywhere.
Yeah.
Heavy rotation on the old on radio in the UK. It got a lot of airplay, but in my bedroom from Gary's Tapes.com. That was ridiculously repeated to the point where I had to smash his stupid tape recorder out of my bedroom forever.
Gary'sTapes.com.
rock down.
That's not a website. It needs to be.
You got to wear this. You got to wear this record. It's from House. It's 88. Rock down. I'm going to smash the thing out. I'm going to smash it. I'm smashing that.
Smashing.
That's well annoying. That.
At number 52 is Jennifer. She Said by Lloyd Cole and the Commotions.
Not my cup of tea. Jangly whinge pop. I put.
Yeah, I thought this was verging on bland core for me.
It is totally on the edge.
And also, I don't like the use of the word commotions in this way. It's not a word to describe a group of people. Not on my watch. I'm not having it.
It's Lloyd Cole and the Commotions. That's like you can't. There's no collective noun of people that's described as a commotions.
No, exactly. Don't think so.
No, isn't. That's it. How many Lloyd Coles have you got? I've got 50. That's a commotion of Lloyd Coles, that is.
But there's more than one. So there's more than one group. There's commotions.
No, he should have just been tied to a chair and amplified in some way that's painful.
And played constant Rock the House by Gary.
Rock.
In at number 64 is New Sensation by In Excess.
Yeah, this is the other track by In Excess that's like majorly popular, isn't it?
This is great. I do like where he put the video. Looks like his head was added in post-production to someone else's body.
It does.
It does. I thought it looks like he's rocking a better looking Robert Palmer look.
Yeah, it does. But it just looked like he's disconnected from his own head. But I mean, it's amazing. He's an amazing looking guy. I mean, there's no denying it. He's a proper rock star. He's cool as hell. So,
yeah. I mean, I think this is a great track. I think his vocals are really good on this song. Really strong. I love the rhythmic breaks when it all stops. It's got a great chorus. It's probably my favourite In Excess song, and I've heard quite a lot. But it's just a really cracking rock pop tune.
It's a good one,
and it's a good video as well. I like the light effects in the videos on the chorus as well, which normally can come off quite cheesy. We've seen a lot of Quantel paintbox nonsense, but the way they do it in this, with obviously just stop motion, sort of. Things moving in the frame. It's really, really well done.
They composited someone else's head onto his body, so that's pretty good going.
Way before the Marvel were doing it. Before.
Unbelievable. The technology. Full-on technology, that.
Number 76, Hot in the City. Apt for this week. 1988 by Billy Idol.
Everything about this is mismatched.
It's really weird, isn't it?
It's like the video's wrong for the song. The song's wrong for the people in it.
Yeah,
nothing matches. It's like it's horrible.
It's very, very because there's a lot of cognitive dissonance in this.
Yes.
When you're watching it, you're just like all over the shop. You're like, that shouldn't be. That's the match. None of this matches. You got that sort of slow synthy beat. Then he takes off in some S&M bondage gear, and you're like, nothing works. All wrong. And it's too nice. Depeche Mode get away with it because there's a slightly sleazy underbelly to them. But I don't want to think
Billy Idol, you're not getting away with it, Billy. You're not. No, you can't sneer your lip with your spiky light bulb hairdo. You can't do that and then just sing this kind of sort of middle of the road rubbish. It doesn't work.
Yeah, true. Number 77 is Candle in the Wind live by Elton John. It's going to get blown out, isn't it?
Yes, it is. This is before it was rededicated to the Diana, Princess of Wales, of course, when she died. Yes. So it was about Marilyn Monroe at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I defy anyone on this earth to fully understand the first few lines as he sings them, because he kind of sings it through what I describe as a thick nasal hose. That's what it sounds like to me.
I can understand him, but there you go.
I sort of get it, but goodbye, Norma Jean.
But you never
remember the rest. Yeah, and Norma Jean did not hear my as far as I'm aware.
No, she never heard.
Exactly.
She was no to her, but never heard any.
And this made me revisit my hatred of Elton John.
Oh God!
Because I genuinely don't like Elton John songs. I'm sure he's a nice person, albeit that he is some kind of reanimated duvet. But that aside, I don't like anything he's produced, anything he's sung. I remember thinking that for a while. I quite liked I'm Still Standing. And I remember thinking I quite like that. And then I don't actually like it. I realise I don't at all.
It's got
when I thought about Pinball Wizard,
song.
It has. When I thought about Pinball Wizard, I'm a pinball wizard. And then I watched that movie that's about Elton John, the recent one, with the guy from Kingsman in it.
Yeah.
And then I realised I actually really don't like Elton John at all. So I'm sorry, Elton. And I know, we're on speed dial, me and Elton. He's a good mate of mine. But I don't like you, and I never will. Sorry to reveal this after 30 years of friendship, but I feel
your
like
speed dial is quite impressive. I think you got James Cameron on there as well, haven't you?
I have.
You are speed dial with the stars. You are.
And don't get me wrong, Elton John, to his, as a friend, is the guy you can count on. You know what? I needed a patio heater, and he had one. And he brought it round. He did. He genuinely brought that round. And late at night when I needed one, he brought it round. But I can't get past the fact that he sings such crap songs repeatedly.
That is true.
It's always going to be a bugbear in our friendship. I can't get past it. Candle in the Wind was a real good example of that as well. It just is. Sorry, Elton. And I will bring your heater back. Sorry, I've still got it. So.
Yeah, it's got loads of stuff on it though now.
Well, the gas cylinder ran out months ago, really. But I'll bring it back. I will. Sorry, Elton. Anyway, so I digress. Sorry.
You do. Number 100. Don't you forget about me, said Elton to Graham. Don't you forget about my gas heater by Smifflemans. I don't know why this is re-released. I don't know.
Must be the Breakfast Club video release or something. It must be.
It's got to be something like that. God only knows. But it's back anyway. And at number 100, everyone bought it the first time.
Straight in at the last place you can be in.
Yeah. Number 35 on the 17th of January, Shake Your Love. I just can't shake your love. Yeah. Shake your love. Just can't shake your love.
From Shake Your Love.
By Debbie Gibson.
Yay. Second single from Debbie Gibson. And the lead single off her debut album, Out of the Blue. So there you go. The music video to support this single was choreographed by Paula Abdul. She also choreographed the dancers in the film The Running Man. It shows, you got to do the old, I can't obviously demonstrate my amazing Paula Abdul dance technique via podcast. Double strike hands in front of your face, like, and then, and I am dexterous and limber, and AJ is experiencing my limberness right now. He laughs, but he's never seen me be able to bend my heel to my ear. I can do that. Yes, that does mean my man junk is hanging out. I'm not wearing my man pants right now.
It's not wearing his mappy. Put that mappy back on.
No, my mappy is off. So I do appreciate that the view you're imagining in your mind and Adrian's is totally different. He's seeing the visual dexterity of my prowess, and you're not. That's good. That's a good thing. Anyway, this is the first single from Debbie Gibson that I remember, I think. And is that what you think? Because I don't remember a lot about it.
It is the first Debbie Gibson I remember. I think that I know they're a bit early, but that tune, and maybe there's some similar writers behind this. I thought the tune and the rhythmic cadence, it reminded me of early New Kids on the Block. I'm not saying it's good, but there's the way that sort of mid to late 80s American teen pop.
Yes, very much so. I agree.
That's what it reminded me of. There's a lot of the sort of more poppy tunes from New Kids on the Block. Number 36, Wild Hearted Woman by All About Eve.
I did a bit of reading on this, and it seemed to me that the Mission and All About Eve often loaned and exchanged band members, drummers and bassists and things like that. Is that the case?
Yeah, mostly it was Hussey and Reagan who sort of guested on some tracks. Julian Reagan guested on some Mission tracks. She was on Severina, and Wayne Hussey, I think, appears on this. So yeah, I think they were just were friends. I think in that gothy band era. I really like this tune. This is
gothy band era.
Gothy band era. Did you never meet him? He used to hang around the barge. Gothy band era.
I'm pretty sure I probably had.
You probably did. I think this is a great bridge chorus in this song. I really like it. And that guitar that leads into the chorus is really lovely. It's a great tune, this. I keep saying this about all the All About Eve, but there's so many good tunes on that first All About Eve album. It's like, all the singles that they're releasing, you go, oh yeah, that was good. Oh yeah, that was good. Oh, that was good. Yeah. It's a really good first album.
Yeah, go listen to it.
Yeah, you should. Maybe not. I don't know. Number 44, Give Me the Reason, 1988 by Luther Vandross. Yeah. So, as you've rightly noted, this video wins the 3D Golden Screw Award for having an animated 3D Golden Screw.
Yes, it does have that at the start.
But just to so I've noted as to why that is, because I did recognise when I watched the video, it was this was taken from the film Ruthless People. Danny DeVito, Bette Midler, Judge Reinhold, and Helen. I don't know why it's Helen Slater.
It's a good film, actually, Ruthless People. But
yeah, and it was probably only just released over here. It was 1986, but it's probably just hit the show. So because we haven't spoken about it, so but there you go. But the poster for it has a golden screw.
It does. It's like an Oscar, so that's where it's come from. It makes no sense in the video, though.
No, absolutely none. And as you've quite rightly, it also won the crappiest blue screen award. It's bad.
Awful.
It's really bad.
It does, and just as an aside, if you're going to do a screw in a video, make it a posi drive, because slotted screws are a nightmare. They're awful. They're really difficult to screw in with any kind of tool. Everyone likes posi drive or Phillips, as sometimes they're known.
I all prefer Phillips. That. I wonder what you're on about then.
Yeah, posi drive Phillips. That we all prefer that crosshead, not this slotted nonsense. So sorry, just thought
they're not compatible with my screwdrivers.
They're not, because they are a nightmare. When you'll get your electric screwdriver, you push it in, and it's not done it. It's not done it. It's like, that's because it's not posi drive. So
you end up having to get a knife out your cutlery drawer to try and do it.
Yes, and there is that. Yes, you could open them with a knife. Yes, but looking at that screw, that looks like a wood screw. It looks like at least an inch 8 or an inch 12, maybe, or maybe an inch and a half 12.
You need to give some backdrop of why you know this nonsense.
Because I used to work in a place that sold things like that for many years. I worked for many years, 2 years.
Absolutely.
I worked in a place that sold screws, bolts, MJ Wilson Fastenings Limited in Grimsby. And I'll plug them because I think they're still going. MJ Wilson Fastenings. If you need a fastening, go to MJ Wilson's right now.
Absolutely.
Ask for Sean or Tom.
Oh, God, it'd be crazy if they were still working.
They're still alive.
Yeah. To be fair, they funded a lot of our shenanigans back in the day.
They did. They were the funding behind the Haunting 3's cameras.
And Apocalypse and things like that.
And Apocalypse and stuff like that. We can't complain too much. No, and my amp, and my bass, and my amp, which enabled me to play in a band with you. This is amazing when you think about it. They did do a lot of that.
All down
that was my first loan. I got a loan from the bank for £300 to buy my bass amp and my realistic amp and my Westone 2 Thunder bass, which I still own to this day. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Number 47, Tell It to My Heart by Taylor Dane.
Do-do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do-do.
Catchy pop tune, this. Powerful vocals. Powerful. Yeah. She really gives it some in this song.
I just didn't like it. It's large hair. It's just I don't like it. Just unclean.
It's powerful vocals.
Demons Out.
Okay. Well, no, Demons Out in the next one. All Systems Go at number 59 by Donna Summer. What was this?
So bad.
Cheap.
It's so cheap. So stupidly cheap. Oh my God. Cheap. Bad blue. There's loads of blood. There's loads of blood blue screen. Bad blue screen. Blood blue screen.
Blood.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's all blood. It's all massively blood. All right, blood. This was no exception. It was awful. I can't believe Donna Summer would sign herself off to that. It's awful.
No, I reckon she had no idea. She'd just be sat in front of a blue screen. They went, it's okay, we'll sort it in post.
Why is this blue screen behind me? Don't you worry about that.
Just sing. Mime.
Just sing the song, mime. Pretend you're enjoying yourself. Why? Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. What was next? Hang on a minute. Next, number 66. Give Me Hope, Joanna.
Yes. Give Me Hope, Joanna. Yeah, classic. Eddie Grant. It's a British anti-apartheid song. I'm not going to go into the deep politics of apartheid and stuff like that in a fun podcast for for funness at all. But suffice to say, this is a deeply political song that really was. It was as much as it was a poppy song. It was very deeply political, and it was quite popular in the UK. It was number one for quite a while. It got banned in South Africa, where it was sort of targeting, really. But it was in the UK. It was very popular. I think around Europe as well. Catchy little song, isn't it? Give Me Hope, Joy on it. It's nice. And Eddie Grant, he also did Electric Avenue, I think, as later down the line as well, which I really like. So stuff.
He did, yes. It was everywhere. I just remember this really getting a lot of airplay. It's a good thing.
It did. It was everywhere. It was. Good message.
Number 79, Love Is Not a Game by the Macaulay Schenker Group.
They're back. The MSG is back.
It is.
Goodness me. Set your editing video system for cliche. Yeah. This has got everything thrown into this one. Goodness me.
Yeah. Roller skates.
I'd like you to highlight what's in it.
Yep. Roller skates, high kicks, hands in the air silhouettes, blue lit stage, Dutch angles, literally everything. Literally what would happen if you fed Whitesnake, Bon Jovi, Def Leppard into an AI machine and said, write a song and produce a video for it.
Such a brilliant description of that song and that video.
Yeah.
Just unbelievable.
Fed it all in and went, right, all the AI machinery that we've got these days doing Harry Potter novels and what have you, just put it all in, write this, give it a rock tune to play, you get this. So, by the numbers. It's incredible.
Unbelievable.
Macaulay Schenker Group. They do sound like a solicitors.
Still,
yeah. Would you hire them?
No. I wouldn't, because they've got big hair.
They'd come in and just in guitars and stuff in the middle of the trial. What are you doing?
Coming in roller skates, just roller skate into the room. Hey, no, right, you are not hired.
You're supposed to be rock, not country.
Yeah, get out. You're the Macaulay Shit Show Group. Get out.
24th of January, number 33, Valentine by Tapao.
Yeah, very forgettable. This one.
Yeah.
Not great.
I don't really remember that one at all. I remember it more than I do number 35, though, which was No More Lies by Sharp and Newman.
That was massively... That was like receiving a piercing, penetrating dagger to the arse cheeks. Awful.
It was
awful.
Bad. Who's Sharp, anyway?
That's who penetrated your arse cheeks. It's like finding a fly in your flapjack. It's horrible, that song.
You told me this was a chocolate chip.
Exactly. I want more of them. You can't. It's a fly.
There are no more flies for this small boy. No more. Number 45, Victoria by The Fall.
Do you like The Fall?
No, I don't. But I do like this track because it reminds me of our old haunts, Gullies in the Barge. In fact, I was in the barge recently and this came on.
Oh my God.
I thought
I recognised it.
It does. They always used to play it there. I like that. I do like that chorus. It is quite a good chorus, quite a nice chord progression and stuff. But I listened to this and I noted that it really sounds like a massive influence on bands like The Libertines and Baby Shambles, those kind of early 2000s bands. That this kind of track from The Fall sounded dead like them.
I'm not going to argue with you on that because I don't know what you're talking about, but I agree.
Fair enough. Never mind.
It sounds exactly like The Libertines.
Number 45, She's the One by James Brown.
The funkiest man alive, yes.
Yeah, I thought it's a good week for James Brown because it's too hot. It's too hot in the hot tub.
This week, it's too hot in the hot tub.
Take it away.
The video of James Brown is a crazy good dancer when he wanted to dance. He treated his band and his like a piece of shit.
He was really hated him. He was an asshole from everything I understand.
Absolutely, yeah, exactly. Everyone describes him as a real knobhead. But to get him to dance like in this funky style, they just heat the floor up to about 120 degrees C. That's going to make anyone dance.
It's going to make,
So that's how he danced. But he is an amazing, it's just a performer on stage. His persona is amazing as much as he's an arsehole to his band. His persona is captivating. I find it fascinating and I really like it as much as I don't like him as a person. I like his persona on stage.
I seem to remember, I could be wrong, but wasn't very nice to his partners as well.
No, he's a violent wife-beating arsehole.
That's the word I was looking for.
But he could dance, he could sing, and that'll take him a long way. Kit Kat snaps. There we go.
Number 51, I Refuse, 1988. What is all this 1988 nonsense? We already just started it.
Don't. It's
by
bland.
Hue and Cry.
It's the signature stamp of a bland core.
Yeah, bland.
So
all the bland.
Hue and Cry, honestly, bland.
If they were a cake, they'd be a sponge. No flavour. no name. What, Victoria? No, just sponge.
If they were a comedy duo, they'd be like unfunny. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, welcome, Hue and Cry. Hiya, gentlemen, hiya. Like, I'm off. See ya. You're shit, you are. Get off.
Yeah. And then the next one's come on. Number 57, Love is the Art by Living in a Box.
Oh, God, this.
More
that
bland.
bass sound.
It's that late 80s bass.
No. Horrible. No.
Back in the box you live. Back in.
Yeah, you will come out no more. That made me laugh a lot, that. Is it living in a box of the earth? No. You will come out no more. Egg Chen does not like living in a box. And really I totally agree with him.
Number 60, Cold Sweat by Sugar Cubes.
Oh, I hate the Sugar Cubes. I hate them.
Yeah, I listened to this and I was like, what am I listening to?
Same. More honking and hooping from the Icelandic speak and spell doll. It's not for me, this. I don't like them. I don't like her. I don't like them. I don't like it. There's nothing. It holds nothing for me. It would put me off going to Iceland if I hadn't already been there.
Okay. So. I've never been there, so it's putting me off.
It's a beautiful place. Iceland's amazing. Don't be fooled by the Sugar Cubes. They hold nothing about that country in their songs.
Fair enough. Number 61, Sing a Song, Break It Down by Mantronics.
Yeah, housey outro track. Very famous. Very boring. If you like Who Sampled, we'll put the link in the show notes, but you'll have heard it and you'll have gone, at that time. It's one in a sea of sort of housey electro noise.
Yeah, that are coming through now, isn't it? Yeah,
totally,
taking over top of the pops.
It's good, but it's just more noise.
Yeah. Number 64, Heaven Knows by Robert Plant.
Yeah. Yeah, this.
I had to put in the massive R. It was the first single to release from his 1988 album, Now and Zen.
Oh, don't. Yeah, as soon as I read that, I was like, Yeah,
Plants. As you've written, Plant's former Led Zeppelin bandmate Jimmy Page played the guitar solo this song. It's just Led Zeppelin.
It is. Look, John Bonham died, thankfully, and sorry. I'm sorry to say this. I'm sorry when I say thankfully.
Yeah, that sounds a bit harsh.
I'll take that back.
I'm glad he was dead.
I don't mean that he died thankfully. I mean that he died mercifully before this song came about. So John Bonham is not a part of this band. You got Plant and you got on the singing duties, of course. Jimmy Page doing the guitaring. Mercifully, the keyboardist John Paul Jones and the bassist isn't doing his thing. So it's not Led Zeppelin this, but it's Led Zeppelin light. And this song is horrible. It's horrible. It's horrible. Awful. And just as an aside from me, as a final hurrah, in the video, he's wearing the most impractical clothes to be in the desert because he's in the desert and it's just like, no, I hate it. This is like it's like if you're going to punch Led Zeppelin in the cock, this is how you do it, isn't it? Really, it's awful. What did you think? Well,
as I've written, awful. It reeks of look how much money we have, and we can do whatever I want because I have all the money, and no one will say no.
Yes, it's awful song. Yeah, awful video. Awful.
It's the George Lucas of songs for me.
And that ain't good.
Awful.
And that guy looks like he swallowed 60,000 quid coins. That ain't good. That ain't a good look for anybody. Yeah. He's got that big goiter, and
he really has. Horrible. Yeah, but no, didn't like Heaven Knows by Robert Plant. Terrible. Nope. Number 80, You Make Me Feel, Stop This Car by the Wooden Tops.
Now you see, I liked this song. It's very difficult to find much about this outfit.
Yeah,
I liked this song. I liked the video. It was okay, but the singers, if you got in the band, you've got Rollo McGuinty. Come on.
That's not. He's the bad guy from LA Confidential, isn't he?
Rollo McGuinty, Simon Morby, Frank DeFreitas, Benny Staples. Benny Staples. He's mates with Freddie Partners and other office supply stores. Treasury Tag Johnson was in there. I want to be in a band with Benny Staples and Rollo McGuinty. Bobby Screwfix, exactly. Treasury Tag Johnson was in there. But yes, this wouldn't. I thought the song was all right. I know you weren't too keen, but it was all right.
It was all right. It was all right.
Yeah. But the band members' names are very cool. I would at any time if when in our band when it was us, you was on guitar, vocals, and I was on bass, and Rollo McGuinty or Benny Staples signed up. I'm like, Benny, get on that drum kit, Benny, because we're having you. Can you play?
Just so I can stand
no,
on
I
stage.
Can't. Get on there, Benny. Benny Staples.
On the drums, Benny Staples.
It's Benny Staples. Come on.
On guitar, Rollo McGinty.
Rollo McGinty. Come on.
Number 95 is the best cover of the Tina Turner song by Bonnie Tyler.
For reasons unknown, this cover exists.
No idea. This was awful.
I couldn't identify it from a film or anything else. The video is bad. Everything's bad. Her vocals aren't even that good either.
They're not a patch on Tina Turner's.
No, and nor would they ever be.
No, probably not.
Weird that it would even try it, really.
Yeah.
Like you said, a horrible and pointless cover, and that's exactly accurate.
Yeah,
so.
I did say that. You can take that to the bank. 31st of Jan, rounding out singles the last week. Number 25, Give Me All Your Love by Whitesnake.
This song is so bad. This song is bad. It's bad. It's bad. It's a really horrible song. It's bad. I mean, do you like this song? Just before we can get into that, it's bad.
His outfit in the video is more tassel than clothing. if you pull on one thread, it's all going to just dissolve like tears in rain.
It's so bad. Everything about it is bad. Big hair, big. It's just everything's bad. It's bad.
It's bad. You know, like I noted, you know, you've got a problem when album fillers like this are getting released as singles.
Yes, yeah, because it's no good. That song's rubbish.
No. Not when you put it up against the best Whitesnake tracks. It's just guff. No.
There's not a lot of Whitesnake tracks to put up against.
There's about the three classics.
I was going to say all three of them.
All three of them. There's a cozy 15 minutes.
So shit, that song. Honestly, goodness
great.
Me. Wow. Okay.
Number 27, Get Out of My Dreams, Get Into My Car. Billy Ocean.
Out of my dreams. It's not terrible, is it, really?
No.
But it's got that kind of horrible 80s drum track that I don't like. It's got kind of a kick drum that's like boom, doo, 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 with a snare and the ding, 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 ding. I don't like those kind of things, but you know,
no.
There you go.
As I noted, it's the theme song for 1,000 Serial Killers.
Yeah, as on the tape deck of Son of Sam.
Yeah, Son of Sam, Ted Bundy. They're all having this.
It was Ted Bundy's greatest hits.
It was a heavy rotation in the Serial Killer.
I like it as much as it's horrible, and it is horrible. The idea of now that's what I call serial killing.
Get out and get into my car, but get into the backseat, baby. You're not getting out.
The idea of these songs chosen deliberately by serial killers on death row.
Yep, we're on to a winner there.
I tell you what, somewhere the alarm's gone off in a Now office. Like, beep, beep. Someone's thought of a Now album we never thought of. Holy crap!
No, that's what I call serial killing. Oh, it's got dark again. Number 39, Let's Get Brutal. Oh god, Nitro Deluxe.
Housey track that was very, very boring. I got tortured to death with that bloody house track by Gary.
I listened
Gary,
to it.
friend of the podcast. Oh my god,
it is so Gary. It's so him. I could see him in that bloody hoodie he had, dancing vaguely to this.
He came around with his little tapes. And he put this bloody track on, this Let's Get Brutal track. And I remember it very well, being tortured with it. Beep, 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 beep. Like, oh my God. I know. I don't forgive you, Gary, for that. I don't. Sorry, no. I don't. Torturous crazy.
Number 43, Never Knew Love Like This, featuring Sherelle by Alexander O'Neill, featuring Sherelle.
This one contains the most like Whitney Houston without actually being Whitney Houston award for containing I can't believe it's not Whitney Houston Similoid, which was Sherelle. Well done.
Yeah,
golf clap for that.
I just said Soul Glow.
Totally. It's like the video features a woman that looks alarmingly like Whitney Houston, but isn't Whitney Houston. Sings like her a little bit, but she's not Whitney Houston. It's Whitney Houston. There's Whitney Houston and Whitney Houston.
Thanks, Mr. Miyagi. When you went
Miyagi.
Houston.
Cheers for
that. Number 54, When We Was Fab by George Harrison.
The song that sounds so much like the Beatles, it might as well have been a Beatles song.
Well, he's got two of them in it.
Yeah, it's basically the Beatles. Like we said about Led Zeppelin, it's basically the Beatles.
Yeah,
it does
really
sound exactly like a Beatles song. It's a good song, but you've got to like the Beatles to like it, I think.
Yeah. Number 55, Hazy Shade of Winter by the Bangles. I watched this video quite
a lot.
I bet you
I
did.
had, actually. I did watch this a lot.
But the outfits are very strange. But yeah, it's from the Less Than Zero soundtrack. It's Bret Easton Ellis's first book.
Yes.
Before he did American Psycho.
Yes, it's a good film as well, actually.
But the film's nothing like the book.
No, I'd heard that.
The bit they share, I've read the book ages ago, and it shared different characters. The book's a lot more nihilistic, shall we say?
No, and it doesn't feature Susanna Hoffs.
It doesn't. No, that's true.
Looking like crazy hot.
I take it you approved of her in this video.
Oh, just yeah.
She's a very beautiful woman, Susanna Hoffs. Let's face it, and it was what caused the break for the Bangles.
Yeah, Susanna Hoffs, everyone. Susanna Hoffs. She is.
Yeah, the rest of the band got pissed off with the attention being devoted to
I
it.
wonder why, because in that you have to see it in that video. She's not even in it that much, and you're like, oh my god, she's the hot one.
The hot one.
She's so good looking in that video. It's crazy. And she's such. Oh, honestly, when I rewatched this video, I remembered why I liked watching it. I was like,
yeah, but just imagine, just to ruin it for you. Imagine if she was Susanna David Hasselhoff's.
Yeah, it doesn't ruin it for me.
Fair enough.
There's no penetrating my Hoff's shield.
No, that's true. To be fair, though, just to come back to the song, it is a really good cover. This.
Yeah, it is a really good cover.
Really good.
It's the best cover of that song, and that says something about it.
Yeah, I really
like the Mamas and Papas version of this, and you just think almost that the Mamas and Papas, the natural progression of people doing this would have been who sang what they called? There's the people that would naturally have sung this. What are they called? There's
don't know.
Oh, there's a band that did that. No, there's they did a song called "Hold On." Who did "Hold On"? Hold on.
I have no idea.
Three male singers. I want to say Dixie Chicks. We want them, but there's three female singers.
Oh, you want about? Oh God, this is terrible podcasting.
Yeah, I know. We can figure it out.
Wilson Phillips.
So Wilson Phillips were the progeny of the people that sang this song originally, and people like famous people.
Yes, they were. So you would think that they would cover it and do a good cover, but the Bangles came in and did a better version.
Yeah. That.
There you go.
Susanna Hoffs. It does. She's in the video. She does that face.
She's done things to your mind. I think that's what's happened here. You're suffering severe hoffage.
Massive hoffage of the mind.
Number 62, Dreaming by Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark.
Derivative twee nonsense for me.
I thought it sounds like it could be a softer Bananarama song.
It did sound exactly like a Bananarama song, so maybe there's a Stockik and a Wortman thing around that. I don't know.
Number 63, Look What You Started by The Temptations.
I didn't look what I started because I just looked when it ended.
Yeah, so not for me,
this. Not my cup of tea. The Temptations are amazing, but not for that.
No. Number 71, We Care a Lot by Faith No More.
Few things I realised about this track. One, that it occurred before Mike Patton's time.
It's off their first album.
I genuinely didn't, but I didn't realise that Mike Patton wasn't involved with them.
No, he did a version of this, though.
Maybe you've got a bit more info about that, because that's cool.
Well, I can't remember, it's Chuck somebody or other. I can't remember his full name. But yeah, Mike Patton joined Faith No More about a month before they recorded the real thing, the second album, Before Angel Dust, and had like about a few weeks to write all the lyrics. He didn't have very long and record them all, because they'd recorded all the music. I think the singer left. They got Mike Patton in, and then he had here's the songs, these, get the lyrics written. And that's why the real thing sounds like, kind of crazy madness sort of thing. But yeah, so this was, We Care a Lot was the original, as far as I understand it, the original Faith No More lineup for the singer Chuck.
Wow.
Oh, I can't remember his name, but so yeah, that's what I know. Do you know any more?
No. I just remember I only really encountered Faith No More when they did Epic, and from there on in. So this early stuff this is a great track by them, and it is really good. And there's loads of versions of it as well. When I was listening to the different versions for the podcast, I came across a live video version that didn't feature Mike Patton, which was some other guy. I guess that's the main guy from Uraz sang it originally. It was a really good track, but there's a live version from a few different things where they sing with Mike Patton. It's still a good track regardless. So really good.
Chuck Mosley was the singer.
Yeah, and it's got that really great sort of intro sequence into it, and the guitar parts are really nice, and that synth line, really cool stuff. It's really good, really good.
And as I've noted, I think this being here in the charts is kind of what some of the first, we've seen a bit of Anthrax and some of that more heavier stuff, but this kind of more funk metal stuff was starting. You probably get to see who were the other ones who did it, not Populate Itself.
Extreme?
No, not Extreme. I'm thinking of the Jane's Addiction.
Yeah.
So those kind of bands will start to come through now. We start to see this kind of funk metal type stuff entering the charts. But this is the sort of start of that. See it. Getting away from more bands getting away from that hair metal type of stuff.
Yeah, yes.
Number 74, Boys, Summertime Love, Sabrina.
Boys.
God, this song. This was on so often on them all-night video channels.
Yeah, it was. I wonder why. Ding, 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 ding,
I wonder why as well.
Now, there's a train of thought, which is that this is cheap, tacky Euro crap, and they're probably right. However, this was a massive 12-inch Italiano dance track. It was humongous. So the track that came into the UK charts and the track that enveloped the chart is a version of the actual track, which is a massive Euro house track. So it's easy to think of this as a kind of write-off, a sort of a one-hit wonder type thing, and I suppose it is in that way. But this track was massive, and the production behind it, and the samples behind it, and the way it played out was crazy. This got popular because Sabrina, who was the model turned singer that they hired essentially for this, was in all the videos just flashing her boobs around, really. And
as much as it pains us to say it, yes, that was the case.
It got banned off BBC because of that exact reason. Yeah. Because she was, famously in the video in wherever it was filmed, Florida, wherever, she was jumping up and down at the pool. The boobs were kind of popping out of the top, nipples popping out. So the BBC were like, no, we're not having any of that. We can't have no nipples on BBC.
Absolutely.
BBC, no nipples. But this was also MTV's time, so it did appear on MTV fully uncut and everything else, so it's a bit of a clash, really. Regardless of any of that, I think the furore and the sort of thought of Sabrina doing that in her videos far exceeded the BBC's ability to censor it. And eventually it became more of a mythos around the whole what happened in the video. Now, what she does is at one point sort of jump up out of a pool and her top kind of pops out. But later down the line, thanks to the sort of visual Chinese whispers, it was almost a pornographic exploration of what happened. That isn't the truth of what happens in the video, but the song is very suggestive. The video very suggestive. The Top of the Pops performance, which she does live, we'll put a link into the show notes. It's absolutely legendary for total boob exploitation. It's BBC on a massive scale. It's amazing to watch. It's brilliant. And the reason I mention all of this is because I actually came across this first by a C64 digi demo. So on the C64, digi demos were quite popular at one point. There was a few, and one of them was which is one that Gary and I explored a lot because of for reasons. Gary, a friend of the podcast, he had this on a digi demo. So we loaded it up on his disk drive, and it was like, it's boys, but boys. And I had a big picture of Sabrina with her, wombas hanging out, for want of a much better description than that.
Just leaving you to this.
Anyway, we watched that, but it was a C64 digi demo. There weren't many of those around at the time. There were quite few and far between. Now there's loads, but back then, compressing the audio to a point where it was audible on a C64 was a miraculous and crazy thing that could not be done. And yet there we were listening to it on a C64. We're like, oh my God, how have they done this crazy thing? We didn't know that it was an exploit of a volume control on a chip, but that does take away the magic. But it was amazing.
It does.
So there you go.
There you go. Boys, Summertime Love. Number 82, The Last Time. Shush. The Last Time by Agnetha Falkstad.
I didn't realise that was even her name.
Yeah, I knew that was a name. She's one of the A's of ABBA, and rightly branching out to Sophisto-Popland, having had a haircut. It's all right. To me, this was very AOR by numbers. I'm not doubting her voice, but
no, it was less Agnetha Falstrog and more Agnetha Truestrog.
Not what?
She's not false. She's true.
Okay.
I thought the song was all right.
Can you set Tumbleweed at that point?
I will. It's set Tumbleweed. I thought she was all right. The song was good. The song was all right.
It's okay.
She looks kind of cool, like you said, but it's AOR and it's misplaced and it's not ABBA, is it? So
no, it's not. Maybe that's why she's doing it. She didn't want to be. She wants to do something different.
Yeah, she wants to be AOR, not ABBA.
Yeah, she's the A in AOR,
not the A in ABBA, not the other A.
Which A was she? The front or the back?
She's the back A.
Okay. Finally, number 83, Que Sera by Chris Rea.
Yeah.
Stupid video, not particularly great song. Ugh.
Crappy song, parody of the film Airplane in the video for reasons that aren't explained. Dull song from the Dancing with Strangers album.
Yeah. As I've noted, he does always seem to be travelling somewhere. And as you like said, and getting nowhere.
No, he goes nowhere. Chris Rea, because that's his name, Chris Rea.
Chris Rea. There you go.
Not Chris Front
Chris at the back.
Chris, rear. Get in the rear, Chris.
Okay. There we go. That's your singles for January. Get to the albums next week and see what goodies we have in that lot. We'll be back. We're going to take another quick break, and we will be back with our last 4 games for this episode. So please do stick around. What is that?
That, Adrian, is the sound of smooth testicles. Now, if you're wondering why, now you may not know this about me, but I like to keep myself trim below the waist.
I didn't, and I'm glad to have found that out.
I think the important part of doing this podcast is that we share, and now I'm sharing with you and everybody that I like to keep myself trim, and to do that, I found a really great product. That product would be Manscaped and all the various tools that come in their performance package. Now, let me tell you something. I once had a near fatal accident in the bath, and I'm not a very limber person. I was trying to shave below the waist, doing some manscaping, some grooming, and I slipped to the razor and, well, I nearly turned me didgeridoo inside out. That was unpleasant.
No one wants that.
It was not very pleasant, and actually it hurt my confidence. I needed a bit of a confidence boost. I found the Manscaped Performance Package. It's an ultimate set of men's hygiene tools, including an amazing shaving tool, what's called their lawnmower trimmer, and their weed whacker. The lawnmower trimmer is for shaving your man-jewels to get them nice and neat. You know, you don't have to go full smooth if you don't want. I just prefer that. I'm a big fan of the King and I movie, so it all makes sense.
You've gone full Yul Brynner down there.
I've gone the full Yul Brynner. But also, I'm not 100% old, but I do sometimes get hairs in places they shouldn't be, in my nose and in my ears. Thankfully, it also comes with a weed whacker, which is a tool that you can use to trim your ear and nose hair with complete safety. These things are genuinely innovative products, and I actually find them very, very useful for me, and I suspect they'd be useful for you. Now, if you go to manscaped.com and enter the code ZAPPED20, ZAPPED20, then you'll get a 20% off as well. Can't say fairer than that, can you? And it's free worldwide shipping. So you can get 20% off and free shipping with the code ZAPPED20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com, and use the code ZAPPED20. Unlock your confidence, Adrian, and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped.
Are you keeping up with the Commodore? Because the Commodore's keeping up with you.
And we are back as promised. We've got 4 more games, the first of which we'll get straight on into. No preamble, just dive straight in. It's Octapolis. Octapolis, £10, 86%. It's a high scorer. Does it deserve it? Let's have a look.
Let's go.
It is the year 3897. The all-encompassing galactic imperium has almost managed to conquer the entire galaxy, save one snivelling planet, the planet Octapolis, which has armed itself with the power of telekinesis. This has enabled them to turn any would-be aggressor into a babbling buffoon and any AI to de-res. But after 200 years of searching, the Imperium has located a man with an immunity to the effects of the planet, a man without a mind, so idiotic that he's easily convinced to go and shut down the defences on Octapolis and open the way for glorious invasion by the galactic Imperium. Yeah,
You can always count on stupidity.
absolutely. It's time to show those rebel scumbags the bottom of your jackboot as you essentially play a stormtrooper for the Empire, taking out the last bastion of rebel hope. Cheery. The planet's not without its defences, and these must be overcome to prepare the planet for its dark salvation. Okay. Essentially, you're playing Fry, aren't you, from Futurama, where he's the only one that could take down the brains because of his hodgepodge of brainwaves. That's what I thought when I read this. Anyway, each layer of defense is split into 2 sections, and these are represented by a bi-directional scrolling shoot-'em-up, followed by a platforming section. Okay, so that's what we have here. To render the planet open and defenseless, you must go through 8 levels, and completion of the 8th will shut down the telekinesis field, and you will be rewarded as the dumb hero you are. There we go. So that's the game. So you boot it up, you load it up, and you get a shooter section. So the shooter section is a cross between Iridium and Sanction, essentially. You must fly across the smallish level, back and forth like the dreadnoughts in Iridium, shooting enemies as they swarm you in various waves. The Sanction part comes in that the screen is split in the middle, offering both a side-on view at the top and a top-down view at the bottom. This means that enemies need to be lined up in both views to be shot, or alternatively can be dodged by being higher or lower than them, higher than lower than an 8, or to the right or left. Control is normally for the top screen, with up and down to the sort of side-on view, so the typical normal view. For the top screen, with up and down, moving you up and down, left and right, slow you down, and change direction when you eventually get too slow, you flip the other direction. You can also fire backwards, though, if you move to the opposite direction, but don't go fully that way. You sort of point, if you're heading to the left and you sort of flick to the right, you'll start firing behind you, and that's quite handy. So that's it. It's Uridium controls in this top part. Imagine them up, down. You move around the screen. Typical sort of side on. I know Uridium is top down, but it's that side on view of flipping backwards and forwards and what have you. If you hold the fire button down, however, or pressing the fire button and moving up and down, this alters your position on the lower part of the screen. So it's hard to go. So the lower half screen is the top down view, if I remember right. So that's the looking down. So that moves you left or right in relative terms on that screen. So moving up moves you to the left, and moving down moves you to the right relatively. If you look at the screenshot, if you play it, you'll see what I mean. It's important, this, because like Uridium, after a while, your ship will start to flash. And this means you can land on the runway and initiate the platform section. And now you can only see where the runway is on the top-down view. So you need to be looking at the bottom view for that one. And so you've got to position yourself over the runway and go slowly over it. Do note, though, that you've got to be over the runway on the bottom half of the screen. So when looking down, you've got to be moving slowly. And in the top half, you've got to be down near the bottom. So you've got to be obviously just as if you're going in to land. If you're not and you're higher up, you won't land, as I found much to my annoyance after a while, until I figured out what I was supposed to do, shouting, "Why won't you land?" And it's because I had to actually pull it down, because you're seeing it, you've kind of got a 3D view almost in two screens. Yep. But that can be quite tricky, trying to sort of control all that 3D positional space while aliens are still harassing you and trying to kill you and blow you up, because if they contact you, you lose a life. So any contact will drain one of your lives. I think you have 5 lives, but that's what it is. If you land, though, if you manage to land, doesn't take long. So if you land, you get the platform section. So you kind of go into, it's like the mini game, but it's 5 screens. It's a standard side-on view, and you control a little spaceman wandering about. So you've got a gun. You can shoot, and you have a jump that will always propel him forward. It's quite a big jump, but it don't feel like one of the mighty bounds. Not so bad, because the platforms are kind of spaced properly so that you always land on one of them. It's quite well designed in the way that the platforms to your jump is kind of spaced. It's quite good. There's always an exit. Basically, on these screens, there's an exit on the far side of the screen. You usually start somewhere on the left. There's an exit on the right. And all you've got to do is just make your way to the exit. That's it. Just go through the exit. Mm-hmm. But to complicate matters, there are these floating eyes. Now, these floating that sort of move back in sort of little patterns that are there, and they can, contact with those is fatal. You'll lose one of your lives. You can shoot these eyes, though. But if you do lose one of your lives, you do get contact with one of them, then the screen resets, and any that you have shot come back to life. There may also be monsters roaming around on the platforms. Now, I say may because these monsters, a number of these monsters are tied to the number, I think it's the number of ships you shoot in the shoot 'em up section when you start flashing. So if you stay out there for a bit longer and you start blasting away at the aliens and kill a load of them, there'll be less monsters in the platform sections. So you run the risk of being killed because you're staying out there longer, but you're also making the platform sections easier for yourself to navigate, because the monsters, like, they're on little loops, and again, they're big. The monsters in this are quite big, they're like ogres and weird sort of creatures like that, and they're kind of wandering around the platforms and in patterns, so you can kind of learn them, but it makes it trickier to get around. So you might want to stay out there and shoot some of the aliens to sort of lessen them. You've got 5 of these platform screens to get through, and they get more devious as you progress, and the way forward is not always obvious, and so they kind of become like, not so much platform, they kind of become almost mini puzzle screens to figure out. Similar way to what we saw, it's not the same, but what we kind of saw in Solomon's Key, the Big Mac Maintenance Man, any of those other single screen puzzle platformers that we've played through, in the way to the exit is not always as obvious as you may think, and it can sometimes take a bit of a circuitous route, because sometimes you have to drop down onto a certain level and shoot an alien on the other side of the screen that allows you to go back up and across the top and then drop down onto that platform where the alien previously was. And it's things like that. While all this is going on, there is a timer counting down as well. If you complete through get through all the 5 screens, you go on to the next level. You get a countdown, so you get extra points for how quickly you do it. So it behooves you to get through quicker because you get more points for it. If you do that, you get through to the next level. It's rinse and repeat. So that's what it is. So each level has these 2 bespoke sections in which must be completed, and they get harder as they go along. Okay, so until all 8 are done, and obviously you complete the game. This is technically very proficient. It's got code and design, and the visuals are by Jukka Tapanamaki. I don't know if that. I'll give that as my best pronunciation. And so from the outset, this game, it gives a good impression. It's got a nice title screen. It's got various track sequences for the game if you leave it alone. So if you just leave the title screen on, you'll get demos of certain sequences from the game to give you kind of feel for how it plays. Got an okay bit of music from Wally Beban. I think this is the first time we've seen Wally Beban in it.
Yeah, I think it might be.
I think it is. I don't think we've seen him before yet, but we're obviously going to see a lot more of him. So it's a nice opener for him. There are options for 1 and 2 players, and consideration for how it progresses with a get ready screen and things like that. And there's this little interstitial sort of staticky screen as well, which you press fire to sort of get through, and it waits for you to sort of say you're ready. You have to press fire, and that's quite nice. It's not just jump in and throw you in it like that. In game itself, the UI is pretty simple. It's just across the top of the screen. It lists your score, your lives, and what level you're on, and that's it. It uses the rest of the screen for the game because there's quite a lot on there. Obviously, you've got this split screen display. So take note, those games that use up massive amounts of screen with pointless reminders of the game's name, things like Synapse and all those kind of things like that, where they just waste space with pointless stuff. And this UI is the same for both parts of the game, so it's got a nice consistency to it. Obviously, it's been you don't need much more than that. Number of lives and you score. What else do you need? The game itself is just self-explanatory, and you progress through it. The visuals are pretty good, I thought. They're all right. It's got very nice split-screen scrolling in the shooter section. Really smooth and fast. And not on top of that, it's got parallax scrolling on the lower half to give depth to the level. And that's really quite impressive, I think, on a split screen with parallax levels. That's some going, and I think that's actually for its first game as well. That should be gives some mention to that. And this is quite a well designed game. It's okay to play, and both sections work. The platforming sections, they've got that sort of 3D-ish depth to the platforms, kind of like, I don't know, Castles of Dr. Creep, I guess, is one that springs to mind. Better drawn than that, but that kind of 3D depth. And your main sprite and that other monsters, they're all right. They're unusual, but they're inoffensive. They work. They suit the game. There's nothing bad. The monsters themselves are kind of weird in the way that they are, because, like I said, they look like ogres or weird sort of alien creatures, but they kind of work. It's all right. The thing is, those monsters, if you get them in the levels, you can't shoot them. So that's why it's imperative that you want to get rid of them by shooting the sources in the first part of the section. There's nothing wrong with the game, really, and it all works exactly as it intends to. My thought on it, though, is I'm just not sure it needed the sanction-style split screen in the main shooting part of the game. I'm not sure it really needed that, as I'm not sure it adds anything to the mix other than the need to have your eyes moving like a chameleon to try and keep track of everything, and kind of muddies up the controls a bit. I found myself dying due to not looking at the bottom screen and enemies moving in that 3D space, and it's not very easy to track across the dual screen setup. So I found that I was trying to shoot stuff, but I wasn't right on the bottom level. I wasn't in line with them, and then holding down the fire button to move myself up. And by that point, the aliens had kind of got on top of me and killed me because they've moved into me. And I found it more annoying. After the more I played it, I kind of just wanted a more simpler, either just do it top down like Uridium or side on. And this is kind of a problem we had with Sanction as well. I'm not sure that this viewpoint really works or adds much to it. Sometimes less is more. And I think that if this had just offered a top-down or side-on view, it'd probably work better for me. Maybe, some other people might go, no, I really liked it. I just found the controls offered feel too fiddly and in control properly. Because sometimes I'd be shooting, moving up and down, but then I'd notice that because I'm shooting and moving at the same time, I'm moving up and down on the bottom screen as well, moving left and right, because that's how it works, because it thinks I'm doing control there. So that's my main bugbear with this. The rest of it's fine. I quite like the platform sections. They're more like puzzle levels, so I quite enjoyed making my way through them. And once I got the hang of them, I could progress through them pretty quickly. I got quite far into it, and I did enjoy it, but I never felt in control in those shooting sections and found myself dying quite a lot there, annoyingly. If you can get your head around that, though, I think there's a really decent game here. It's like I said, it's technically proficient, and it offers a fair bit of challenge. So I'd say the score, the 86%, is probably about right. I don't think it quite hits a sizzler, but as a first outing, this is technically solid, well programmed, looks good, sounds good, plays well. in the fact of like everything works as it should. There's nothing bad here, and it might get a bit repetitive after a while, just doing the same thing. But there's only 8 levels, and I think if you got to the end and you finished it, I think you'd feel like you'd I think it feels like a game you could probably get yourself through, which is good. So yeah, I was all right with this. This wasn't bad. Never played it before, never heard of it. Good start, I thought, to the second half. What did you think?
Yeah, I'd never played this game myself, actually. I'd never even heard of it. So I thought it was quite intriguing. I really liked its sort of slinky mix of shooter, Iridium, Sanction sort of stylings in the initial shoot 'em up part. I like the fact that you were just shooting from the get-go and you were just controlling it and navigating in that space. I liked when you landed and you got to the sort of impossible mission style levels. The graphics in this game are genuinely really good.
Yeah.
Some of the sprite details in the impossible missions sort of sections are really, really good. I really liked this game. It was really good fun. It's a good blast. The graphics and the gameplay are really good. It was a really good pace. The shoot 'em up part moved around in the kind of right way. The landing part, yes, there is a little bit of faffing about, but once you get to grips with that, there was just more dynamics to the game than I thought there would be. I thought this was going to be a crappy side-scrolling shooter with a sort of UFO-type looking sprite. I was actually very impressed with the way it played out. The sound and the music were also really good as well. This is quite a good game for the full price, especially when you consider that the platform sections have got quite a lot to them. The graphics are really good in them. Yes, it's very impossible mission, but it's of that genus, and there's nothing wrong with that. This is quite a nice mix of the two things. It sort of almost doesn't work, but there's enough there for it to kind of get away with it. I don't think I would have bought this back in the day. I don't think it would have ever been a game that I actually went out and got. But for 10 quid at 86%, I think that's about right. I thought this was pretty good. The graphics are good in this game. The look and the feel and the scrolling and the technique and the code are all really good.
Yeah.
And the graphics inside of those impossible mission sections with your little sort of sprite and the kind of graphics on the sort of big characters and the sprites that you're up against, I thought that was genuinely impressive. So I really liked Octapolis. I thought it was good. Worthwhile little game and unheard of for me. I liked it. Good stuff. Really good stuff. Nice to see it. Excellent.
Yeah. I'm not going to argue with any of that. I think the review was bang on with that one. Nice to see something. Nice to see something just come out of nowhere from someone, and also work and do what it says on the tin. Good. There we go. It's Octapolis. We like that. Let's move along into our next one. Will we like the next one? Graham, time for you to put on your mask and tell us all about Mask.
So Mask, M-A-S-K, was a 1985 French-American animated television series based on the Kenner action figures. So it's another action figure turned cartoon turned advert thing, animated in Japan by Ashi Productions and DIC, or Dick Asia. That's what they're called. I didn't make that up.
Fair enough.
So MASK, which is an acronym for the Mobile Armoured Strike Command, is a special task force led by Matt Tracker, who operate transforming armoured vehicles in their ongoing battle against the criminal organisation Venom. That is, the vicious evil network of mayhem, with an emphasis on superpowered helmets, for now, called masks, which are worn by the characters of both factions. So they have these superpowered helmets. Venom's primary goal was obtaining money through either robbery, extortion, counterfeiting, kidnapping, or attempting to steal historical artifacts, so just general bad stuff. Mask always are there to foil their plans. So the game then, that's Mask. And it's basically a toy cartoon of the 80s. Think He-Man, think Thundercats, think those things. It was one of those in its branding. Okay. And just as an aside, not one that had massive currency, I don't think, really in the UK, but okay. So this game was another Gremlin graphics game. Concept by T. Porter, K. Bulmer, and S. Gregg. I don't know their names. I'm guessing Tom Porter, Kevin Bulmer, and Steve Gregg. The coder was AD the Bear. Was it you, AD?
It was.
Yes.
It was.
I thought it might be. And Richard.
I was very hairy back then.
Hairy back. I was hairy back. I wasn't hairy front. I was just hairy back. The graphics are by Kevin, John, Terry, and Sue. Good old Kevin, like the Roger and Freddie of the game graphics world. They just came
Absolutely. They did a dance while doing them.
Title screen, Kevin Bulmer. Good old Kevin Bulmer. I'm guessing the graphics Kevin and title screen Kevin are the same, musician Ben Daglish. So in this game, the Mask HQ has been surrounded by the forces of venom. All but one of the Mask agents have, somewhat inconveniently, been thrown into a vortex, leaving them lost in time and or space. Bummer.
Yep.
In this game, you played the role of Matt Tracker, like I said, the leader of the team. And your mission is to rescue your 7 lost agents and their rescue the 7 lost agents from their 4 different time and space prisons. The game has you controlling your Thunderhawk car vehicle. That's a very elaborate name for something that looks nothing like a Thunderhawk car vehicle. Looked to me like a lollipop. Through the multi-scrolling landscape of each zone, dodging, attacking enemies such as dinosaurs and stuff in the prehistoric zone, for example, to UFOs and such in the future zone, shooting at things and flying over stuff. To complete a level, you must find the missing agent and their mask, the source of their power. To do this, you must locate a scanner and its 4 access keys, which are scattered around. Then you use the scanner to find the missing agent, pick him up, find his mask, and then head to the time vortex to go to the next time zone, which will load. Find all the 7 agents, and then you can attack the Venom base, the destruction of which will allow you to go home for a nice slice of pot pie with some pickle. That's what I thought. I like to think there's a decent end to these things.
It's all about the pickle.
It's all about the slight pot pie and a bit of pickle.
All about the pickle.
This game... so this is based on a big license, another toy license from this stuff, and another Gremlin game. So the title screen when you load the game is busy. It's a really busy screen,
And then some.
and loads of text. It's just text, and there's no logos. The mask has got logos and branding and stuff like that. There's none of that. It's just text. It's just text. It's really dull. So the game itself is a bit of it's a bit nothingy, really. You scroll around a bland brown landscape in the kind of a lollipop looking thing. I don't know, a vehicle of some description. It doesn't look like a car. Picking up things as you sort of scroll around and maneuver around in this kind of 3D-esque landscape. Avoiding the enemies, which we'll come to because that is very difficult to do. The controls, your car moves kind of weirdly in this. Your vehicle moves weirdly. So there's a kind of a weird rotational inertia, for want of a better description. So you can't just move in the direction you want to go. You have to sort of sludge your way into those directions. There's a decent play area in the game. The main area of the screen is where you play the game, but the map is bitty. And it's more about catching yourself on the edges of things. The collision in this game is annoying and frustrating and difficult because you've got to navigate around this thing. It feels like an Avenger game. It's like the Avenger engine with some of its comparative parts switched off, and I suspect it probably is a bit of that because that was also Gremlin. It's a similarity to this way this works. It's a bit of a top-down, maneuver yourself around the sort of maze, gauntlet almost style, really, of almost like Avenger, one might say, with a different kind of character set. Okay, I think there is a bit of that. I'm pretty sure there is. The play area is decent and the map is bitty, but you do find yourself catching on the edges of things. The collision in this drives you mad because you've got to try and navigate yourself.
Yeah.
At one point, you're trying to navigate yourself up this tunnel and you've got to sort of move to the left and move to the right, and it's just awful. And then you've got to come back down the tunnel later, and you can't avoid the enemies, and you run out of energy really quickly. The sounds in the game are kind of obvious shooty sounds that you'd expect, and it just play okay, but it's tedious to think that this is the same thing you're going to be doing over and over. You've got to find the 5 things in the 3 areas, and there's the street. I know there's only 3 scenarios in this. I know there's only 7 agents in this, but 7 agents in this area. You've got to find them, find the 4 things to unlock the keys. Boring. Now, the thing is, for me, I don't know a lot about the Mask license. I don't. But I can tell you what I know from experience with C64 licenses. This is a waste of a license because I know that there's more to the Mask license than just wandering around a landscape looking for masks and looking for people. They've attached the idea of this to such a bland game idea that it beggars belief. But I think the reality is that they've attached this to a game engine that they had already and just tailored it to suit Mask. This was no more game designed than anything else, than more than that. For me, this felt like they already had a game engine. They could adjust the sprites, make it almost basically fit in a reasonable time frame, which is why it's got the same people that have been involved in almost all the Gremlin games to some extent. There's nothing new here to ask. There's nothing new. There's nothing masky about this Mask game. This could be any old game. And I find that frustrating. For the same reason that Thundercats doesn't work and all the other games that doesn't work. This is derivative and nonsense. Just apply and take a bit of time to and then analyze the license that you're making into a game and make it about those things. The Mask license, I'm sure, involves masks and powers and superpowers and stuff. Don't make it wandering around a gauntlet-style game in a dull environment looking for something to do, which is inevitably this game is what it's all about. And I found that quite frustrating in the end. So dull, and boring. What about you?
Yeah, it's another toy-to-game conversion that suffers the fate of most of them, and it just isn't very good. And for having 4 people work on the visuals, it's quite ugly as well. It's very brown. And the main car sprite, well, it actually took me a while to notice it was a car sprite and not some kind of, I don't know, you said a lollipop. I thought it was some character laid down. It looks really weird. It looks unpleasant. It's got really poor colour choice and it's really chunky. Blue and red, pale blue and red, pinky red. It's awful. Don't put those 2 colours together. Yeah, it's not great at all. The game itself feels very unrewarding as you career about and get bothered by pesky tanks or whatever and shoot them or bomb them. And it's also possible to screw yourself if you don't know to place a bomb at the blockage near where you start, and just use them to blow up the cars and planes that attack you instead, which is what I did first of all, and thus ran out of bombs and then couldn't blow up the blockage, which leads you up, you said, that narrow bit where you have to go up. So first few goes, I was like, what am I supposed to do? Where am I going? Then I noticed it. I was like, oh, do I have to put a bomb? Then I went looking for a bomb, but I'd used them all up. So it reminded me of Avenger in that respect, and you're probably right. A similar thing that it had to do with that, where you run out of keys, so you couldn't progress. Games should not block progress through the player using what is offered to them. You could have the bomb on a spawn rate from some place, so you can always get another one. But that will also tell the player that that item is necessary to progress and not just for casual use. Hey, you're going to need to think about, oh, this keeps respawning. Is there a reason here? I probably need to use it. Not just, oh, you've used them all up. Tough. Your fault. We didn't tell you, but tough. So even when I did get through and wandered up the narrow gulch, it was more brown and being bothered by a helicopter, which reminded me of Rambo's last section. It was like, ugh. Anyway, for me, the floaty controls and lackluster visuals and just dull gameplay soon had me reaching for the off switch. It's not a terrible game. It's just 100% nondescript. And I didn't really get on with it. And
no,
just nothing really. And why is each level a separate load?
That I couldn't.
There's not exactly that much on them, and they're not that massive.
No, they're not. They're not massive, and they're not graphically intense. It's just
no.
I don't get it. It didn't feel. This is not a Mask game. This is not. It doesn't shout Mask. I don't know.
It didn't. It looked like. I mean, that backdrop is proper Terra Cresta-esque.
Yeah, it is.
But Terra Cresta has everything in one load. I don't get it.
I am sure they've just used an engine they already had, and they've just malformed it into this nonsense. So
yeah, you're probably right. I didn't like it. No, Mask was not for me. There we go. Or you. There we go. That's Mask. Probably better than our next one, though. Let's move on.
I was going to say, it might be.
Might be. This is Gunboat, $8.95 from Piranha, and this scored a whopping 20%. Okay. 20%. Oh, my word. So let's start with some facts. So Gunboat was made by 5 Ways Software. You remember them. They did Cat Trap, Strike Force Cobra, and The Astonishing Adventures of Mr. Weems and the She-Vampires.
Oh, God.
Yes, them. And they are back. This time providing us
with form.
Yeah, in POG form at this time of year. So they're providing us with a spot of riverboating as we make our way along the river, blowing everything up in the quite appalling Gunboat. Yes, this carries on the already low bar of quality and then some. So you know you're in for quality when the title screen is the UI at the bottom for the game at the bottom, and the expanded characters that just say R to redefine keys and S to start a game. This is the antithesis of that Mask game, where that Mask game was just so full of stuff. This is like, no, nothing. What it also tells me is that this is a port from the Spectrum, as that's how I think of Spectrum title screens. That big chunky, redefine keys, yada blada.
Yeah.
It looks like a Spectrum game to me. Games built for the C64, from the ground up, say press fire to start usually, as they know you have a joystick. This doesn't. I mean, not that being a Spectrum port makes it bad. No, the game being terrible, that's what makes it bad. Anyway, once you pressed S or redefined your keys and then pressed S, the game starts. You control a hydrofoil gunboat. You are equipped with machine guns, and by pressing the keys 1, 2, or 3, you can fire torpedoes, homing missiles, or drop depth charges. You control the gunboat by pressing up and down to speed up and slow down, and left and right to rotate the direction. The game is presented in a pseudo 3D side-on view, forced sort of 3D perspective view, like Renegade, with depth to the river you're on. As soon as the game starts, you are set upon by helicopters, but these can be taken out with your homing missiles. Pressing forward to get some speed sees your boat start to lurch forward, whereupon gun emplacements from the banks will start shooting at you and the mines will try and blow you up. If you navigate past these, subs will surface and ships will start to attack. There are different routes to try and move onwards, and the point of all this is to infiltrate the enemy's network of waterways and blow up all their naval bases. On the UI, at the bottom of the screen, you've got your fuel, your health, your rev counter for how fast you are going, how many missiles, torpedoes and mines you have left, your health. I already said that. And the engine the engine temperature. If you run out of health, it's game over. You run out of fuel, game over. Your engine overheats, yep, game over. You can dock at bases along the way to refuel and get health back and more ammo, but you will be unlikely to do this as the game is just fundamentally terrible. So if we talk about the visuals, it's before we get to the visuals, so it's slow and it's clunky to play. From a control point of view, it takes an age for your ship to respond to anything, any controls, turning left and right, slowing down, speeding up. It takes ages for it to respond. It's too big on the screen as well. So you just get hammered by the enemy all too often. So helicopters respawn and subs keep coming up. It's just ridiculous and really unfun. What's worse though is the scrolling. Actually, it's not probably worse, but one of the worst things is the scrolling. It is atrocious.
Oh, God. It's
both jerky and late. Before suddenly lurching a full screen ahead. So quite often you'll be forcing the screen to scroll by being on the right side of the screen, sort of pushing it so it's scrolling to the right. Or maybe if you're going to the left, if you've gone up the walkway and you're heading leftwards, you'll be on the left side, right against the far edge. You'll be getting shot by stuff you can't see. Before the game, it kind of realizes this and sort of hurriedly sort of lurchly scrolls further across to the right or left to show you more. And it's awful. It's really bad because you shouldn't be having that happen. But the way that this scrolls is painful to watch. It's really awful. The graphics are rubbish. They're just terrible. They're grey, ill-defined sprites with as your gunboat. The way it scrolls around, the things on the shore are kind of okay-ish, but they all just look really blurry and ugly and just badly drawn. The backdrop itself is just the worst kind of 3-year-old drawing a green hill with blue sky and some black silhouettes for buildings which don't look like anything, and everything else is just blocky and horrible. I thought this was terrible. I didn't play it for very long because it was just appalling to play. We're still in episode 1 for 1988 and we already have a contender for Sunday Best. This will be up there. This was dreadful. It's terrible on all accounts, and it was £9. £9. Shocking.
Crazy.
This certainly is no fun boat, that's for sure. It's not even a bun boat. I'm not even going to give it the bun boat pun because it's dreadful. This was one of the worst things I've played in a long time for the fact that it was £9, purely broken. And it may be all right on the Spectrum or the Amstrad, which is obviously where it originates from. But whoever has ported this to the C64, the C64 has, as you've rightly said a number of times, a register for smooth scrolling. I don't get it. I don't understand when they do it, when this happens. There's no reason for this. And that lurch, when you get to a certain point, it just kind of goes, moves forward. Unpleasant to play and unpleasant to experience, and £9. 20% was too kind to this. Too kind. What about you?
What a horrible game. And for full price, honestly, this is a finger in the bum cheeks, isn't it, this one? Nasty, blocky, horrible sprite, which I guess kind of look like a boat if you really squint and think about it. Terrible, terrible scrolling. Really bad controls. The controls on this was just stupid. Really just bad. Combined with the classic impossible difficulty level, so you're never going to get through this game in a billion years, ever. It's just a horrible, horrible experience. Add to that the crappy sound effects. Just No. It's just not good. It's frustrating that this is how 1988 might begin to some extent. It's just a horror show of a game and a money grab at best. It's just crap. Utterly, utterly crap. I've got no more to say about it. You summarised the game perfectly well. I literally hated it.
Yeah.
So I thought it was abysmal and terrible. Bad everything. We're in 1988 now. If you can't smooth scroll something on a C64, then don't try. Leave, go somewhere else. Go for a poo. But don't do this, because this is crap.
Yeah, go drop your own gunboat.
Well, in 1988, I was coding stuff myself by this point in the C64, and I could smooth scroll stuff easily. It's easy to do when you've got a register that does it.
Yeah.
Just get lost, Gunboat, you stupid piece of crap.
Yep. There we go. That's Gunboat. Awful. Worst one of these.
Dog egg. 1988, the first dog egg.
Proper dog egg, yeah.
Real dog egg.
Yeah, real. Oh, go on. We've got one more left. Let's move on and let's get into that. And Graham, we've got a sizzler to finish off with. This is Combat School. Tell us all about it.
Okay, this is a copyright Konami. Producer was DC Ward. Coder was Alan Short, Dave Collier. Graphics, Sean Ridings and Simon Butler. The title screen was Simon Butler. This is a conversion of the somewhat obscure trackball-controlled Konami arcade from 1987, also known as Boot Camp in the US, for obvious reasons, I guess. I don't think I've ever seen the original arcade before. Anywhere have you?
I think I have, yeah. I think there was somewhere in Cleethorpes that had it. I think there was.
You're making it up because it doesn't exist. No, I genuinely don't know. An interesting footnote, by the way, Konami themselves later released the Commodore 64 version in North America under the Boot Camp title, but as late as 1989. Okay.
Shocking.
Anyway, the goal of this game is to work your way through 7 military-inspired events/trials in order to graduate from the combat school and then be sent on a final rescue mission. Each event is principally a waggle affair on the C64 on the arcade. I don't get how they controlled it because it was a trackball. I don't know. I never played it. I don't know. It sounds confusing and difficult.
I think you just have to roll it really fast in the direction. I think.
I don't want to think about it because it actually made my arm and wrist ache trying to do this game when I played it.
Yeah, it did me as well.
So you've got these 7 military-inspired events trials. Now, these military-inspired events trials are of a similar thing. So the first one is the obstacle course. Here, you've got to waggle left and right and use your fire button to jump because you've got to jump over walls, jump across equipment, and eventually reach a series of monkey bars, as we call them in the UK. I'm not sure what they call them ourselves. Horizontal ladder is apparently what they call them elsewhere. Monkey bars it is, and you've got to obviously waggle the joystick, you gain speed, jump fire, and you've got to essentially waggle and jump to get to the end in the fastest time possible prior to the time which would otherwise disqualify you. And if you do that, then you'll get to the next round. Bear in mind, you only get one life at this. So if you fail at this point, you're out.
Yep.
That is tough thing number 1.
Yep.
So the next, if you make it through the obstacle course, the next one is the shooting gallery. By the way, these are a facsimile of the arcade levels. So there's no difference between this and the arcade. There's subtle differences, subtle tonality differences. I'll talk about them when I get to them. So if you finish the obstacle course, you're onto the shooting gallery. You've got to hit 35 targets. Those targets appear for a short time and they pop up and you've got to basically shoot them. Now, the problem here is that this suits itself nicely to a trackball type controller, does not lend itself nicely to a joystick. But they do pop up the same places each time. When you figure that out, you'll get through 35 of those. And if you do that, you're onto the Iron Man race, which is the next challenge. Now, this is a vertically scrolling track and it's covered in rocks, puddles and canals, and you've got to sort of jump over those things. So you've got to actually waggle up and down. Waggling up and down is a really difficult thing to do. Yeah. I don't know why, but it really is.
It's massively hard.
It's so difficult. I don't know why. Left and right waggling, that was bad enough. Up and down, I was a total crap fest. It was awful. I couldn't do it. I don't know why. I'm just not an up and down waggler. This tells me a lot about my own teenage life and my own sense of well-being, but it doesn't matter about that. So the idea is that you've got to waggle up and down and you've got to move the joystick left and right to avoid the various sort of hazards and traps that are on the Iron Man race. It's things like jumping over sand pits and obstacles and things like that. When you get to the last area, you've got to swim or you can find a canoe, but you've basically got to swim. It's an Iron Man race. So you've got to sort of navigate those things. But in the top-down tradition in the arcade, this splits into 2 screens. And you either play the computer AI or you play your 2-player opponent. It doesn't do that in the C64 version. It just is always on one screen, as far as I could ascertain.
Yeah.
So I don't quite know how that works anyway. But either way, that's the limit. One of the mini limitations. After you've reached the Iron Man end and you've done it, which by the way, if you do that on the C64 with the up and down waggling, bless you, because you're a saint.
Absolutely.
It's so hard to do. I don't know why, but it is.
It's the up and down, but also having to steer left and right.
Exactly. It broke my brain.
Yeah, same.
I couldn't do it. Anyway, after that, you're on another shooting gallery. This time you've got moving targets, which are like mini tanks, which flash in. Again, this is almost impossible on a joystick control. And remember, if you don't do this, you're out. So it's not like you've got lives or a challenge. You're out. And that's very, very unforgiving. The arcade logic of that does not apply well here. You needed lives. You needed chances.
Yeah.
You needed opportunity, because going back to the shooting gallery and going back to the obstacle course, then the shooting gallery, then the Iron Man is unforgiving and painful for this. Anyway, if you make it through that, you then get to the arm wrestling. This is a solo game where you've got to basically waggle yet again to sort of control the way that you can do the arm wrestling. Basically, you've got to pull off your opponent.
Sorry, what?
You've got to pull off your opponent in this game to win. Anyway, we're not going to dwell on the arm wrestling, but basically it's more waggling, essentially. If you get through that, you get Shooting Gallery 3. You get the idea that for me, I felt there's a little bit of cop-out here, because it's 3 levels of this are basically the same anyway. In this particular Shooting Gallery, you've got to shoot the targets, to some of them which you're not allowed to shoot. And I can tell you what, if you get through Shooting Gallery 3, it's a miracle. If you've actually made it to this point and got through that, it's a miracle, because it's so hard with 1 life, almost impossible. If you get through that anyway, maybe you do, maybe you don't, you get through that. Then you've got close combat with your instructor, which is where you've got to basically, and now there's a little bit, it leans a little bit on different film titles here. There's a little bit of Officer and Gentleman about this. There's a little bit of the films that are around at this time are leaning into this. So a little bit of Officer and Gentleman, as I say, a little bit of the Kubrick movies in here as well, a little bit with the boot camp and everything else. So there's a little bit of that. But either way, you've got to fight your instructor, which is a kind of a side-on sort of beat-em-up affair-ish, where you sort of basically got to just punch and keep hitting your opponent. It felt a bit like they'd thrown in the engine from Yao Kung Fu in here to me. So, and okay, it is what it is, but the arcade has it as well. It's the same difference as the arcade. It's not like this is differentiating from the arcade a lot or anything else. It's the same difference. So if you make it through that, which would be a miraculous thing if you do, then you get sent on the secret, separate loaded rescue mission. The rescue mission sees you entering a sort of building, and you've got to basically walk to the left in a sort of almost a Kung Fu Master / Green Beret style, and beating up the enemies as you come across them in order to sort of make your way to the end in order to rescue the person that you're in there with. And if you do that within the time limit, and the time limit is really tight, and you do it without losing and getting hit or anything else, then you'll get through that, and that's the end of the game. Now, I can tell you, in all fairness, the chances of you doing that are 1 billion to 1. Because this game is so hard. It's so hard. If you get through those 7 levels and make it through the first 1 second of level 8, I'll be amazed. But okay, maybe people out there that did that. Okay. So it's a decent arcade conversion, and they've done a responsible job of converting it from trackball to joystick. And I say responsible because I wanted to say reasonable, but I think there are problems with converting it from one format to another. The least of which is that it sort of doesn't quite work in some areas. All of the levels are there in this conversion, which is kind of impressive. And the graphics are really good. In fact, in some areas, I would say they're very close to the arcade. Yeah. Now, I compared the arcade with the C64 version, and there is not a massive amount between them. They're good, don't get me wrong. And obviously, the arcade has little advantages. But generally speaking, these are very similar games. And so it looks the part. Now, audio-wise, the in-game music is actually the same music as in the arcade. And actually, I think it's better. I think the Martin Galway does a better version of the interstitial music of the arcade. The opening theme, however, is some kind of sample-intensive weirdness that I can't ever figure out if I like or not. I flip between liking it and not liking it. I can't, do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. I don't know. I don't know if I get it. I sort of do. I like what they were trying to do. I don't know. Maybe it's a technical marvel. I'm not sure. My issue with this arcade game conversion is the arcade game itself is actually not a great idea. And I think that's a fundamental problem. This is a hypersports in a military compound, and it clearly is borrowing the hypersports engine, to say the least. So I think that this is basically hypersports with different clothes to some extent.
Really? I think this looks quite a lot advanced for the hypersports in the arcade.
No, I think it's basically the same. Running across a screen.
Oh, yeah, gameplay-wise, absolutely it is. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not saying the visuals, I'm saying the actual gameplay.
Oh, right, okay.
The assault course events are little more than extensions of that hypersports logic, albeit that there's a variety of graphics, and the graphics maybe ante has been upped. But I actually think in the C64 version, the graphics actually get slowly worse with each event that you go through. Now, obviously, the culmination of each one is the sort of a little sort of musical tally, and you get to the next one. And I don't know how tough it is in the arcade because I've never really played it to some extent. I've obviously seen it. But my feeling is that as you play the C64 version, not only do the graphics get worse, but the game difficulty gets harder and harder and harder. And I think that comes to the point where it's quite unforgiving. I think the shooting graphics and the shooting levels are less effective than some of the other ones, but even so, the running events seem to be the best ones, and the arm wrestling is perhaps the weakest in the fight with your instructor. I think the overhead running with the up and down is painful, actually, physically painful, having tried it. Yeah. And I didn't get that it was an Iron Man. I didn't quite understand where it was coming from. These things don't quite make sense. It feels like you're going through a lot of trial to get through to the final bit, which the payoff does not really feel like it's there. If you don't quite make it to some of the end of the levels, if you're nearly in the time, you're nearly in the score range, you can sort of enter a sort of a mini stage where you can do pull-ups by waggling the joystick again to do kind of pull-ups and stuff like that. And that's a nice touch, so that all is not lost if you don't quite make it. But I can tell you won't make it even if you get to that stage. I found this game visually quite amazing, considering it starts off so well. The opening level, bear in mind that it is annoying when you start the opening level, it just starts. So it's not that you get a ready, set, go. It's like, go! As soon as it loads, go! You got to waggle immediately. I find that a little bit annoying, but okay. Those levels where you're running and you're jumping and you do that thing, that's fine. It is tiring. The levels where you're going up and down are really weird, and it gets weirder and weirder as it goes along, to the point when if you make it to the final mission, if you make it past the instructor fight, I'll be amazed, because it is like fighting something in Yao Kung Fu, and there's no real skill involved. You just have to, get strikes randomly while you can. If you don't, well, more fool you. There's no skill to it. It's just random luck. And if you get to the sort of final mission, it is just a kind of a really weird Green Beret variant, but with more Kung Fu master than Green Beret, and it doesn't quite work either. So, but I suppose the main takeaway from this is that all of this is in the C64 version. It is all there. The graphics, the music, the sound and the sound effects, the visuals, every level is there, including the extra level. Slight variation that you have to rescue the president in the arcade, but in the C64 version, it's just a mission to rescue a person. But either way, the whole conversion is there. Now, I think that as a conversion, this is one of the best arcade to C64 conversions I think I've seen. Because if you look at it from a pure arcade to C64 conversion, everything is here. The graphics, the audio is actually, I think in some instances, it's better. The opening level graphics are kind of really good. The music is all better. The music and the sounds are better than the arcade, all of it. The graphics are basically the same, if not better. Everything's better. The problem really is for me that this arcade game was never really that good. It's a derivative of a hypersports that nobody wanted, with an extra level thrown at the end to make it kind of interesting, which in the C64 version, you're unlikely to ever see. So I think that it's a great idea in terms of its conversion. Somebody thought, actually, this would make a great C64 conversion. And it does. But the actual game itself, lacking in the key things that make it really interesting. So in the end, the most interesting, quirky thing about it is that you can say is that the title screen's good. The music has that weird, sampley kind of crazy stuff going on from Martin Galway, which is really weird. But you either like it or you don't. And the first level does look like the original arcade, but it descends slowly into a graphic kind of style, which is not that much fun. And I played this quite a bit, and I remember never getting that far because it's so hard. And of course, the difficulty is really what kills it. So that was what I thought of this game overall. What about you?
Yeah, I'm pretty much on the same page. I mean, the waggle is strong in this one, isn't it?
Yep. After
the success of Hypersports, and that was a good conversion as well, very good conversion. We get similar sort of treatment. Konami's next arcade joystick bash, or whether it was the next one, I don't know. Except that in the arcade, they shoot a trackball, as you said. Don't know. I think what they've done is, that, as you've rightly said, they've converted the trackball usage to waggle, and it does work. So there's no real problem with that. But as you rightly said, waggling up and down, just no, I couldn't. Just couldn't do it. I couldn't, no matter how I turned the joystick to sort of think, well, if I do it that way, then I can do that. But I've got, it just wasn't working. So I couldn't get past the Iron Man race. I could only ever get there, which, it's a shame, really. I like the combo of the run and jump in the first one. You can get really good at that. And it feels very satisfying to really nail that and ace it and stuff. But I thought the firing ranges were good once you learn, it is like you said, what you said, it's a learning process. So you don't have that reaction of the being able to with the trap ball as you would do in the arcade, but you can figure out where they're coming, and that's all right. Just the Iron Man race. I guess if you get your head around it and you manage it, there's a lot of would be fun to be had here. I think you're right. The graphics are uniformly, very good. You're right. they start off better than they end, I think. Not quite as detailed as the arcade, but they've got that ocean look. We'll see it again in Platoon. I think that'll have got a similar graphic style, I think. They're well animated, they're very smooth, the scrolling smooth, Gunboat here. Everything's cool. That title screen music, though, I really don't like it. I really don't. I think it's a sample-heavy version of I Want to Be a Drill Instructor, whatever it was. It's not for me. I don't like this period where Galway and Hubbard went all sample heavy.
No, I found it weird, I have to say.
It's not what I like from a C64 music. I like sawtooths and SID waves and whatever you call them. That's what I want. I want all that noises. I don't want bad low bitrate samples. Just don't do the machine any justice. That said, though, this is a good game and a solid. It's a decent game. It's a solid conversion. I think you're right. The weaknesses lie in the original arcade machine. What I would have liked if the 2-player mode wasn't reliant on qualifying and you just went through the events and see who could win the most. That would have been better because it would have been more user friendly. Because there's no reason why the 2-player game can't just be you playing against each other and seeing how far you can get. I mean, you could cheat and just put it in 2-player mode and just go through them, and it wouldn't really matter how long it took. But, you're not doing yourself any favours. You wouldn't be, no high scores are saved or anything like that. They're only from 1-player mode. So that would have been all right. I never even knew there was at that end level. So I've never seen it, so I can't comment on it. But I never got there in this. It just gets too hard. The difficulty is its main issue, which is a shame, really, because I would like to have sort of got through it. But there's just certain control schemes that my brain just can't function with, and that up and down waggle is one of them. But yeah, this is all right. One of the better games this week anyway. I can see why they gave it a sizzler, I think. And it also came with a demo of Grisor as well.
Okay.
So for a value, that would have probably sold,
Bit of a value add there.
Yeah, exactly. So I could see that being nice. So 91%, probably about right for this, I think. I don't think it's as good as Hypersports. Ironically,
no, nowhere near as good.
It'd be interesting because we've also got Track and Field this month as well. Konami released the version of that, so we've also got that to look at. So it'll be interesting to see, the original arcade Waggleathon, I guess, isn't it? So we'll see how that fares. I've got that coming up.
It is.
But Combat School's all right. He says £8-9. It finally showed that Ocean could. What's his face, isn't it? It's Dave Collier. David Collier makes good games.
Did you play a lot of it, though? How much did you play of this?
I couldn't get past the Iron Man.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe I just need to put a cheat in and get through that and see the rest. But I try not to play with cheats. In fact, I don't play with cheats because I want to try and experience it as close as I can to the original. So I don't play with them. But maybe I'll give it a cheat mode. Considering I could get quite far in Green Beret, it's just the control method of upward waggle. I just can't do it. There we go. That's our last one for this week. So we've looked at 8 games. We've looked at Driller, which was slow. Ambitious, but slow. With good music. We looked at Jack the Nipper 2 in Coconut Capers, which was ill-advised and stupid. Rainbow Dragon, which was ill-advised and stupid. And Basil the Great Mouse Detective, which was Jack the Nipper 2. Different clothes.
Yeah, and ill-advised and stupid.
Yeah, then we had Octapolis, which was good. We liked Octapolis. Good shooter. Good original stuff going on there. Then we had Mask, which was ill-advised and stupid. Then we had Gunboat, which was worse than ill-advised and stupid, which is just awful. Just honestly, dreadful.
No, pixel horror.
Yeah. And then finally Combat School, which was just, God damn that control method.
Too bloody hard. Up and down waggling.
Yeah.
Nobody should ever do that to anyone.
No. Don't make me waggle my joystick up and down.
No, if you don't believe me, ask your partner, significant other to waggle your joystick up and down and see how you feel about that.
Or if you don't have something to waggle someone else's, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Just waggling anything up and down is wrong. Left and right
maybe
is okay.
It's never going to lead to a pleasurable outcome.
No.
You're certainly not going to have an Iron Man.
No.
No, you're not. There we go. All that's left, just as ever, if you wish to... what we got coming up next week? Let's have a look. Next week, we got I think we've got 9 games. 9 games next week. It's 9 next week. We've got Chuck Yeager's Advanced Flight Trainer.
Ooh.
Radius. Don't know idea. Alternative World Games.
Nah.
Survivors. Who knows? Tetris.
40-minute soundtrack from Wally Bevan.
I know. Wally Bevan signals his arrival. Then we have Thunder Chopper.
It better be good for 15 quid.
Thunder Chopper. Followed by Trivial Fruit.
That doesn't sound good.
Then Trantor. the Sammy Hagar Chronicles. And then, as noted, we end up on another waggler with track and field. You'll notice as well that the second half of that next week is all T games.
It is actually, yeah. Tetris, Tundra Chopper, Trivial Pursuit, Trantor, track and field.
Yeah,
Tata.
I do these things every now and again just to sort of, make my life more fun.
I thought because the first games almost spell out crap, so that'd be hilarious, but they don't.
Crass.
Quite.
It's crass.
Crass. Oh, pity.
Crass. Oh, I should look for one beginning with P. I'll do that. I'll have a look for that later. So that was it. All that's left to be said, I believe, is if you wish to support the podcast, this is it. We're into 1988 now. This is going to go on for a while. It's going to take 12 episodes just to get through the first 3 months.
Woohoo!
So.
Ooh.
I know. I think that's got to keep us going till October alone.
Yay.
Or however long. So this year is going to take a while, I think. But if you wish to support us in our ongoing campaign to remove that retro reverie, then you can do so by heading over to our Patreon, which is at patreon.com/zapped to the past. There are a couple of tiers. There's the basic one, which is just the equivalent of £1, which is just supporting us and throwing us £1 a month, which is really helpful. Or there's the higher one, which gets you access to our Discord. You get early episodes, access to early episodes. You also get the bonus episodes as well. That's worth it for them alone. You get the full versions of these bonus episodes when we do them, and some stuff that's going on and things like that. So you get to ask us questions as well for our Ask the Podcast episodes, and just generally have a good time. And you also support us, help us keep going, and that's really cool. That's £4.50 or your local monetary equivalent, whatever that is.
Whatever that might be.
Yeah, so I think that's about it. Anything else do we need to add, or is that it?
No, not at all. No, from me, I'm done. I think I'm done for these.
We're done. So
week.
That's it. 1988 is a go.
It's on.
So we'll see how long this takes. Probably a while. But on that note, I have been Adrian Mills.
And I have been Graham Raddings.
And you have been listening to Zapped to the Past, and we will not be waggling up and down next week. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to the Zapped to the Past podcast. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the world of Commodore 64 games, as well as the music, films and TV from around the 1980s, driven, of course, by the issue of Zap 64 magazine published at that time. We will return with a whole new batch of games and stuff to talk about next week. Until then, if you want to listen to or download previous episodes of Zapped to the Past, and why wouldn't you, they can all be found on our website at zappedtothepast.com, as well as being available on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Deezer, Audible, Player FM, and, well, pretty much anywhere where we can upload them. By the way, we do always love to hear from our amazing listeners, so if you'd like to contact us about anything in the podcast or beyond, you can do so by emailing us at zappedtothepast@gmail.com. We're also active on Twitter under @ZapTother, as well as Facebook, Instagram, and most social media platforms. Just search for Zap to the Past and you'll find us. Oh, and if you like the podcast and what we're doing, please do like, share, review, rate us. It really helps. Something, apparently. The Zap to the Past podcast is written and produced by Adrian Mills and Graham Raddings, and recorded at Flaky Bits 2.0 Studio. All opinions expressed are those of the writers, and while we indeed love Zap 64 magazine, the Zap to the Past podcast is not affiliated with it in any way. Stay safe, see you next time, and remember, we play these games so you don't have to.